I will call the work session meeting of the Hood River County Commissioners to order on January 20th at 4 p.m. And the first order of business, we're going to discuss our severe weather emergency that we had in December. And we have a presentation from Cori Wiessner at Public Works. And whoever is joining you, you can invite anyone you want to join you.
So as I'm going through this, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. No one knows you here.
Who's your guest?
I want to know how you guys managed when we said we didn't want any more severe weather. How did you manage to just like get it stuck in this rut? So the weather hasn't changed since the weather emergency.
We're just that amazing.
Actually,
I mean, it's
yeah.
From a safety point of view, it's probably just fine.
Some of us might want to see a little snow up the hill.
Well, you might be the only one.
I'm certain I'm not the only
Yeah, I
one.
know he's not.
I guess it's sort of a relief we have nothing to plow since
No.
there's no forthcoming help, just pay for plowing.
Does anyone know 5%?
Are you implying that our unused plowing budget is going to help with our budgetary woes overall?
There we go.
No,
I got
it's mostly complaint about
There you
ODOT,
go. Yep.
state plowing.
Okay. So just wanted to come back and talk to you a little bit about the emergency declaration that you guys determined in December of 2025. This is a picture of Odell Highway. And then, yeah, so timeline, we had some significant wind and debris happening before the declaration. Our road crews were out clearing things well in advance of the emergency. December 18th, the emergency declaration was officially given as of December 17th. We started cleaning up that emergency and we had a landfill landslide that was identified on the 19th. December 20th through the 22nd, our road crew was out on the landfill doing some significant cleanup, and you'll see some really cool pictures of that and performing some pump maintenance. December 22nd through 30th, we were on a 24-hour operation at our landfill to preserve our pumps and make sure that we can get those landfill, the discharge cleaned up. So these are pictures of things that happened in advance of the declaration. So we were doing some debris cleanup in advance of that. The high water hit in the middle of the night, and so these are all during the darkness. Top left one is Toll Bridge. The middle one is at our Toll Bridge campground. The bottom one is along an ODOT highway and one of our county roads, and I have no idea where it was, but it could have been anywhere. And then the top right one was in Cascade Locks, where a tree is blocking our culvert.
Did we have a search and rescue event, or is that SAR mean something different?
No, search and rescue was out taking these pictures for us
Okay.
over the night.
So they took them.
Which was the bridge? Where is that?
Top left one.
Is Toll Bridge.
That's Toll Bridge.
Yes. So this is our landslide. The house in the middle, that's our pump house. Luckily that was spared during the event. There is a pond that you can't see that's just up from that. And then where that road ends, there was a turnaround there, and that was some of that was taken out as well. So here's some pictures of what we encountered when we showed up the next morning on the 20th. The debris as you're going down the road, that was on the turnaround, and the debris on the right, that is our pond. This is our crew digging out our pond in action. And just to kind of note, this falls that goes into the pond was leaching into the creek down below. So this is what it somewhat looks like now. We do have floats that were installed, so we no longer are running 24-hour operations. That basket that you see, that box in the middle of the pond, that was crushed, and that keeps debris from going into the pumps. Both of our pumps were full of debris, and we had to clean those out. The reason the sheriff's here is because the sheriff's office was a huge support to me. It's not real great when you get a call at 7 a.m. from the sheriff, who doesn't generally call me. And he goes, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, probably not good." And then the next day I proceeded to call him Friday night at 6 p.m. and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And so I turnabout's fair play. But yeah, I want to thank essentially every department within our county was a part of this emergency declaration. The sheriff's department had significant resources, as well as our public works team. So, questions?
Do we have any questions?
When was the last, how long has it been since that landfill has actually accepted debris? But when was it capped?
Seems like the 80s.
80s, okay. And it basically has to be maintained forever, right?
Yeah. So until that the water runs clean, we have to maintain it. And right now the water looks clean, but during the spring it does not. It looks orange. So
What does clean mean?
Clear?
it looks clear.
But
It
is
looks-
there any testing for contaminants that define clean?
Yes, we did test the water. We don't have the formal results yet, but we did see that there were elevated levels of, hold on, barium, iron, and manganese. And there was also elevated, an A word, and I'm not sure what that was. I'm
One
sorry.
with ammonia was,
Ammonia.
yeah.
Most of them, as it was going through the vegetation, got filtered out quite a bit. Those were the three that still were at elevated levels when they hit the creek.
And what's the next step?
So the next step, so here's a picture of what it looks like now. Where the water's coming out of, there was a pipe that was kind of underneath, so we have to do some like cleanup to make sure it doesn't wash away further. And then you see how it's kind of the vegetation where the landslide did take place, it's kind of over the edge. So laying that back and putting plastic over.
You explained that in the,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Well-
and then maybe planting it with vegetation to
So
stabilize.
longer term, that's gonna be short term when our road crews aren't doing road stuff. Longer term would be laying that back even further, putting some sort of vegetation so it doesn't slide away.
And currently, the pump is working correctly,
Yes.
and it's pumping this all into the catchment pond, correct?
Yes.
So it's no longer going over the edge, and
Yeah.
hasn't been since the first couple of days.
Since the 23rd, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 22nd.
The that you're talking about is, you're talking about the dike that's in the foreground? That's what you're going to have to going to slide that forward and construct that?
So if you look to the right of the guys that are standing there, that's where the landslide took place.
Right?
And so we would have to lay that dirt back. And so it's not so steep. The steepness
Right.
is,
But the pool that's there is only a pool because there's a dike that you built in front
yes,
of it.
that
Right.
pool has to be there.
Right, no, I understand you
Yeah.
need a pool there. That dike looks pretty temporary.
That pool has been there since before the 80s.
No, but the dike that is holding it in at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's been there since the 80s. That was full of debris. That's actually in really good condition.
wow,
We'll have to actually line that pond. We removed the lining when we
okay.
took care of that.
Because I mean, it just looks like mud and rock, but obviously it's something else.
It
It's more rock
might
and rock.
just be mud and rock. But it's holding it back.
Feel hooly, Matt.
It is, but isn't that, I mean, it's like
It's stinking.
gooey though.
Yes, it
But It
is.
also flows.
I am not finding it now, but there's actually a really good picture that does show that from a different angle.
Right.
Makes it a little easier to understand. Obviously, I can't find anything tonight.
Anyway, you got a plan.
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, you guys really deserve kudos for that several days that you had people monitoring it manually. And that was amazing how hard you guys worked at that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing that
Right at
crew, it was
Christmas
over
time.
Christmas, and so people without families showed up on Christmas. I pulled a shift on Christmas because I don't celebrate Christmas on Christmas. I celebrate on Christmas Eve. So it wasn't just if you can do it, but what's your hard no? Like if you celebrate on Christmas Eve or you celebrate the day after, I don't know what each family situation looks like. So yeah, we had more than enough crew within our public works team that everybody that was interested was able to pull a shift.
Wow, we are really lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you all.
And we should note for the record that we have a list of thank yous in your packet. So from onset of the event, which was a last action of our emergency manager, Charles Young, and the sheriff's office to pull us together into the incident command post for the flooding event through the landslide event. We had numerous helpers. And so the list that you see is our regional help. Obviously, we have the Department of Environmental Quality, OEM, the Army Corps of Engineers, the phone call from the National Weather Service to the sheriff on that Wednesday night, Red Cross, ODOT, Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue, as we showed they were out doing the flood reconnaissance. Couple of volunteers for the team, Danny DeHaze and Robert Garrett. Baker County Emergency Management and Harney County Emergency Management had loaned sand bagging machines that were driven here over it through many hours of adverse road conditions. And then locally, our shared operation with Wasco County Emergency Management. Craig DeHart, we called him in on that Friday night. We needed somebody to assess the area, and he came in and did that for us with Charles. They were up there. We had members of Rotary Club come out and kill sandbags. Of course, City of Hood River Police Department, Parkdale Fire Department, Hood River Fire Department, Westside, Odell, Y East provided volunteers to help sandbag, as well as some members of the rugby club. Hood River Alliance Church was a consideration for shelter if needed, and the Port and City of Cascade Locks helped. And then you see across our organization the list there, which includes all of you, because you had a couple of special meetings where we had our emergency declaration and then the update on the emergency declaration. And from our employee standpoint, the list is very long, so we have that in the packet. The event we expected to elevate. There was enough damage from the storm event from the 19th to the 16th to the 20th that we expect an elevation from statewide to federal request.
Does the 16th include the windstorm that brought all those trees down? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
And does it include private property damage or is it just?
That is all public property at this point.
So like the people who had trees fall in their houses, that's not part of that.
That's not part of that, correct? That may be a separate action in regards to the private property.
Usually they have to get to a certain threshold on a private property level.
So we wanted to acknowledge that in front of the board and the good work that it takes. I think when you think about counties, one of the things that we is a statutory responsibility and we excel at is emergency management. So I think we were joking a little bit with Charles that he gave us 2 things to exercise before he departed as an employee of the county. But now he works for OEM Emergency Management, so that in our region, so that's great.
And already providing support on this event at that
Yes.
juncture.
Yeah.
With both hands.
Sure. I'm wondering, when was the last time you got a call from the National Weather Service? Like, is it every couple of years or, I mean? That's
Yeah, it's not very often,
Yeah.
so when they call, I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah,
Anything else? Thank you both so much. It was great seeing the meetings of you guys getting stuff done and getting Ruby out there.
yeah, I would just comment that it was, well, Cori did a great job because she got thrust into it without any training, a little warning on how to be an incident commander and did a fantastic job. But it was the collaboration I was super impressed with because it's not a joke. I think every department had something that they contributed or a person or expertise or whatever it was. So it made me very happy to see that collaboration at that level. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on our agenda, we have the Hood River Reads program. And please come and introduce yourselves. We're going to hear about the Hood River Reads book for this year.
Thank you. My name is Bonnie Withers, and I have been on the Hood River County Reads Committee for almost all the time that I've lived here, so probably 8 years now, I guess. And I have come before and brought a book to you, and I'm delighted to tell you about this one for our 2026 campaign. The name of the book is On Gold Hill, and it's by a young woman named Jacqueline Moyer, where she describes her personal history with wheat and farming, small farm, and family. She is, her mother is Punjabi, but her mother did not really do anything while she was growing up, just didn't pay much attention to that part of her roots, and neither did Jacqueline. And then through the story, she makes discoveries connecting with her wheat farming and Punjab in some very interesting ways. There's a lot going on here. If I can just, I won't read the whereases to you because you've got it in front of you, but this does help really describe this book well. She did win the Oregon Book Award for this book for the category called Creative Nonfiction, is interesting. And in it, she reconnects with her roots, uncovering threads that bind family, land, and culture across continents. She grew up in the Sierra foothills of Northern California, and then she and her partner, for a period of 3 years, leased 10 acres of land and an old dilapidated farmhouse to be farmers and grow wheat and also do vegetables and run a farm market. And so it's the process, what she learns along the way. We'll learn an awful lot about wheat. And just when you think I know as much as I want to know about the history of wheat, then the next chapter takes you to a whole nother place. So it's really very well organized and researched. And discovering along the way that what seemed like a great idea at the beginning becomes not so much a great idea as time goes on. Some of the intricacies of trying to be an organic farmer. One that I thought, an issue that I thought was very interesting is you want to be a small family farm, but you can't do it all by yourself. How do you adequately compensate people you bring in to try and help you when you're just so much on the edge? And those are some of the issues that we're going to be talking about then in our programming that we're doing for this book. We have, first of all, kickoff is February 14th, Valentine's Day. I really apologize that I don't have brochures yet. We're doing the actual final, getting it together tomorrow. And I will make sure that you all get copies of brochures. It will be very shortly, but it's not off the press yet. So February 14th, that's when we have the kickoff. We'll talk a little bit more about the book. We will present prizes to the winners of the poster contest that the art students at middle school and high school are participating in. That's been a traditional thing that we do, and it's a lot of fun to bring the kids in on that as well. And that, of course, is the day when we start giving out the free books. So we have 600 of them to hand out, and they'll be available in all the libraries. Then the next thing we have on February 21st is a panel. That's a panel with several small farmers, including, and then also Sarah Sullivan from Gorge Grown. And so to talk about all the wonderful programs that they do. We're looking at sustainability. That's the theme for that particular program. The following week, we want to look at stories of how did you get here? You know, what's your path? What's your journey? And we have some people that we've identified who will come and share, but then we also really want this to be sort of an open mic kind of a situation, because I think so many of us have very interesting stories, and many of us who are far from that point now have stories that relate back to farming. So we'll find out more about that on that day. We have a farm tour, Comfort Star Farms, and that will be climate willing, weather willing on March 7th. The Hood River Book Club will have their, they meet monthly, and this will be the featured book then on March 11th. And then on the weekend of March 14 and 15 and 13, 14, 15, sometimes the author comes for Friday and sometimes for Monday. This year it's going to be Friday. Then of that weekend, she'll be at schools. And we've got different things that's still in the process of being set up, but we have some things in place. On the Saturday, she will run a writing workshop, and which is always a very popular thing with our authors. It's something she does in Corvallis now, so she has good experience with that. And then on Sunday afternoon is our sort of final public presentation by the author. I think that our funding is going very well. Everybody we asked for money said yes. And we have the list, and you'll see that also on the proclamation. And I think that kind of basically covers what I have to bring you. And then, you have the whole text here. Any questions?
What is creative nonfiction?
Isn't that an interesting question? I know. They didn't actually describe what the category means, but I think it's maybe nonfiction that's more readable. I don't know. That's the only thing I could come up with. Because it certainly is wonderfully researched. And when she gets into how wheat going way, way back in time, it's just fascinating. And I didn't expect to be that fascinated reading about a crop, but I'm learning along the way.
Thanks.
It's a specific wheat that you can make roti out of. and it's Sonora wheat that they'd already been growing in northern Mexico.
Okay,
I hate to,
so you're kind of
to ruin
a
the
spoiler there.
suspense, but
Yeah.
About the kind of the Sonora wheat.
Good point.
do we have any other questions? It sounds like a very interesting book, and thank you for presenting it. And we
You're
always love hearing about the book you've picked.
Well, thank you. I brought a couple copies for you all to pass around. And of course, you know where you can get more of them then very soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and the next thing on our agenda is the auditor's opinion and county corrective action plan. And for that, I bet that we have Sherry giving us a presentation.
Do we have the auditor?
Or is the auditor on the?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a new audit team this year. You guys, looked at bids a year ago or so. And Singer Lawap out of Salem is our new CPA firm. So Brad,
Welcome.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm gonna let you introduce yourself to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Brad Bingenheimer. I'm a partner with the firm Singer Lawap. I'm located in Salem. I'm the firm's local government sector lead partner, as well as the Pacific Northwest lead assurance partner. And we do appreciate the opportunity to work with Hood River County for the audit of the year ended June 30, 2025. I do have a short presentation. Should I do it now or wait for the full meeting?
We do it now. We do it in the work session. It
Okay.
is also open to the public. And then the board will approve to sign my response, the corrective action plan during the full meeting.
Okay.
But we expect you here, I'm guessing 5 or 10 minutes, right, for your presentation. And then the Board of Commissioners might, and often does, have questions for you.
Certainly. Okay. So can everybody see the screen I'm sharing? I hope so.
We can.
Okay, great. So yeah, we, of course, we're your auditors for the year ended June 30, 2025. And our audit report is what is considered to be an unmodified report, which in a nutshell says that in our opinion, these financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the county for the year ended June 30, 2025. I would note that you had to implement a new accounting standards this year. GASB 101 changes the calculation for how much of compensated absences the county needs to accrue. GASB, in its wisdom, decided that, in the past, what we've done is just accrue what could be paid out in cash if they leave. GASB says, well, there's more to the story than that. They want us to also accrue a portion of an estimate for what's going to be used up in the current sick leave, what currently is going to be used in the next foreseeable future. So there's a new estimate that we had to apply to the financial statements. We worked through some of the issues on that with staff, so there's no real problem there. A few financial highlights. So you ended the year with total assets of 160 million, deferred outflows of 5.5 million, liabilities of 21.3 million, with deferred inflows of 4 million. All that means you had ended the year with a net position of $140 million. And you can see compared to last year, it's up just about $1 million. And that $1 million is made up of essentially two things. The first is just from the changes during the year. Here's the revenues and expenses. You'll see your revenues for the year were down a little bit from last year. Most of that, which is in grants, which is not a surprise. The county, just like many of our other clients, are, running through the last of their federal COVID money here. So we expect, grant revenues to be going down. And of course, you did have then a pretty good size increase, almost a little over twice in your timber revenue, 4.6 million. Overall, your expenses were pretty comparable between the years. There's nothing really that's a big swing there, other than in, the public safety had a pretty decent size change. But otherwise, everything was pretty comparable. So the change in net position from these was $2 million. And I said, your net position actually changed to only $1 million. The other $1 million, that has to do with the adjustment related to that GASB 101 for accrued sick leave that we had to adjust for at the beginning of the year. So you actually had a $2 million increase, but then we took $1 million away for that prior period adjustment in implementing that new standard. And looking at the funds, now your general fund ended the year with a fund balance of $8.5 million. And one of the things we always look at with general fund is what's the percentage of your earning fund balance to expenditures. So, compared to last year, your ending fund balance is 45% of expenditures. That's a pretty good, healthy general fund balance to have. It means you about half of you can operate almost half of your year without any additional revenues coming in your general fund. So that's a pretty good cushion. We kind of like to see, anytime it gets below 20%, auditors, we start saying, hey, there's this thing you need to look at here. More than 50% probably is getting a little excessive in the cushion there. 45%, very healthy. Your public works ended the year with fund balance of $9.8 million, which is an increase of $250,000. Timber had an ending fund balance of $18 million, which was a decrease of $1.1 million. Your sheriff's program ended the year with a fund balance of $400,000, which is an increase of $50,000. And then all the other funds of the county combined, which there are scads of them, all the others, your ending fund balance was $19.3 million, which was an increase of $2.7 million. Now, one of the things I always like to talk about is the net pension liability. So when we look here at these liabilities of $21 million, the largest single liability you have is the net pension liability. And this is the county's percentage of the overall Oregon PERS net pension liability. And so for 2000, and they measure this always 1 year in arrears because it takes that long to put all the actuarial stuff together. But so for the amount that's reported in your financial statements was $14.3 million. And that represents a 0.0644% of PERS overall. So you have a very small part of that PERS pie, but still it's $14 million for you. Now I always tell people, the net pension liability, it's the liability that's really, it's not your fault, but it is your liability. Because there's really very little you can do from a county standpoint, unless you make huge prepayments to it. Because essentially what you're doing is you're paying everything you should be doing. So this is another table that's in the financial statements. This is one of my favorite tables to show people. Is it shows how your contributions have grown over the last 10 years. So, go back 10 years ago, your contributions were only $321,000. For 25, they were $1.3 million. Now, if there's a good news with that, the contribution as a percentage of payroll is 11.2%. And actually, that's fairly low in terms of the percentage of payroll that you're contributing. We see a lot of clients where that's over 20%. And of course, I always tell people, do I think this number is going to get much better over time? I doubt it. But what we do see is that, your contributions are going to continue probably to grow over time as a percentage of your payroll. It's just something to think about as we go forward in life. In addition to our report on the financial statements, we also issue a report under the minimum standards for audits of municipal corporations in Oregon. That report, our Oregon minimum standards, requires us to look at your compliance with certain Oregon laws and regulations as I've listed here. And so as part of our audit, we come in and we perform tests to see if we identify any non-compliance. The only thing we found is that you had one over expenditures in the general fund, a very small amount for $12,000. Other than that, we found no instances of non-compliance in any of these issues. Now, the other thing the minimum standards report brings up, it introduces very quickly the idea of internal controls. But that concept of internal controls gets carried further in government auditing standards report. So in government auditing standards, we look at internal controls over financial reporting and also on compliance at the financial statement level. And it's good to note some definitions here. First thing is a material weakness. That's a deficiency in internal controls such that there's a reasonable possibility that material misstatement occur and not be prevented or detected in a timely manner. A significant deficiency is something less than a material weakness, but that we believe is still important to bring to your attention. So in conjunction with that, we do have a finding that was issued that you're going to be dealing with here very shortly. Because we detected a material misstatement in the accrual for accounts receivable, we noted there was a material misstatement, need to be corrected. So just when we detect a material misstatement, that is a strong indication that there's in fact a material weakness. So that's why we had to issue this finding. It's because we did have this material adjustment on the audit. And then in addition to those reports, we also have a separate report on federal compliance. So because the county expended more than $750,000 in federal awards this last year, you expended a total of $1.2 million. There's additional audit requirements that come to play, and we're required to test certain programs based upon a risk assessment, and we got to reach a certain threshold of testing. So we looked at 3 programs: the Women, Infants, and Children, the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, and one in the Health Department for epidemiology. So we audited, we applied additional procedures to those 3 programs, and we looked at, did you comply with the requirements of the program, and were there internal controls over those compliance requirements? And in both cases, we indicated no instance of non-compliance, and we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over those programs. So that's basically our audit of the county as a whole in a very short, brief amount of time. In addition, we've also issued reports on the financial statements of the 911 Communications District and the Windmaster URA. And those were also unmodified reports on the financial statements. So with that, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Do we have questions? Mr. Babbitts.
I've got, and by the way, thanks. That was a great presentation. It was really, well, thank you very much. Great presentation. Appreciate that. I have a few simple questions. Number one, the GASB 101, does that change doesn't affect any ending fund balances, does it?
No, it does not. It only affects the government-wide financial statements and that net position.
Okay, great. You made a comment when you talked about the PERS being 11.2% of payroll. You said that and it looks like it's been in that range for the last 5 years or so. And you said that you would not expect to see that going down at any point. I thought that some of the structural changes that were made to PERS over time would result in that going down. Am I misunderstanding? I thought that when they, added all different classes to PERS and that eventually people, people pass away eventually, and that after all of that, that it would go down. Is that?
Well, you are correct. That's going to be a long time from now. Okay. In the foreseeable future, I don't see that these things are going to go down. I do like to always tell people also that, Oregon is overall very healthy in its overall PERS funding. So if you look at the overall PERS, Oregon is about 85% funded, which basically, if you look at it, how they calculate this is the actuary projects out all future payments to retirees and then calculates that at a present value using a discount rate. And they compare that amount to the value of the investments they hold at a point in time, this being June 30, 2024. That's about 80. So we have assets that cover about 85% of that projected present value of future payments to retirees in Oregon. There are many states where it's less than 50. And I know of one particular Midwest city where it's 25. So overall, I think we're very healthy, but still, PERS is a significant burden on local governments.
Great. So I'm sorry, bouncing back, I was asking about the ending fund balances. The general fund was down 1.1 million. Is there anything unusual there, or is that simply that we use some of the resources in the ending fund balance to pay general expenses?
It was just you used some of your surplus you had. You still end up in a very healthy position.
Right.
So.
Okay, and then I think this is my final question. You said there was a small over expenditure in the general fund.
Yes.
Not concerned about the amount of it. The question is, did that indicate any processes? In other words, should some alarm bells have gone off that didn't go off? Or did did Sherry know about this? Or what does that tell you?
It tells me that things happen. There are, you are looking at so many different, budgetary constraints. And as they approach the end of the year, I know, management's looking at, where are we at on everything? You have any changes have to be brought before you. And just, this one just slipped by. I don't consider that to be an issue of any kind of process change that needs to be made. It just, life happens sometimes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I do want to extend a thank you to your staff. They did a great job working with us. We really appreciated working with them, very responsive. Of course, we're also working with the consultant that the county has to assist in drafting the report, being Aldrich. And we know the people at Aldrich quite well. So overall, I thought it was a very successful audit, and we really did appreciate the relationship with the county.
Great.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for our team for once again bringing it in on time by the end of the year. So it's nice to be in this place.
So we don't get any nasty letters from the state anymore.
Correct.
For this.
Correct.
Thank you, Sherry. Any more?
I will tell you the 12,000 over budget Clayton and I did go through a thorough review, but there are certain entries that came up at the end of the year that we couldn't project to the point to know that it would run us over by 12,000 in one category. So apologies there, but it isn't a very bad crime. So I think we'll be okay.
Doesn't sound material.
The reason why I asked wasn't because I was worried about that, but because I would just want to know, in seeing that, did they notice that there was anything procedurally that they would recommend that we do? And it sounded like you have the right procedures in place. Stuff like that's going to happen occasionally.
It's right. Once you're doing your year end and your year end reconciliations, you might find something you have to move around that got into the wrong year and you have to move it back before the auditor gets here.
Right.
But it's too late once we're
Right.
past June 30 to come to the VOC and say, we need a budget adjustment for $12,000 from this category to this category. So we did have excess in this category,
Right.
but we went over in a category we could have fixed had we known how everything would finish up in audit work.
So you can't do a budget adjustment after June 30th, even though there's the 30-day accrual period. That's just for accrual. You can't change anything.
Yeah, there's actually an accrual period to September 1st is the official grant.
Right, there's
related-
90 days. That's a 30 on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3/30s.
yeah. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much.
We will need permission. I had to respond to the federal government. Because we do get a single audit, we do get a lot of grant monies, and I did make a mistake in accruing an accrual, one entry. I do have to answer to the state, Secretary of State and the federal government, and that form is in your packet. So that'll need to be signed off on so I can send it in.
And this is the
corrective
action,
plan. The corrective action
the
plan.
corrective action plan.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Good job. And next we have a quarterly report presentation. And what, do we have something else before
You
that?
do.
We moved that up
We
to the
did that.
beginning. Yes, so we.
I know it's sitting there, but
Oh,
we
Yes.
already did that.
Yep.
We moved
And do
the
we have
emergency
that
stuff to
here?
the beginning. So,
gotcha.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right.
and our
Hey, slow down now. Don't worry.
quarterly report,
Just saying.
Right. Well,
This is
due to the length of the agenda and due to the fact that we have several new department directors, I had scheduled one quarterly report for this meeting. The last time we had an audit presentation from our prior auditor, that presentation took about 45 minutes. So yes, he was much more succinct. So we are running ahead of schedule.
I thought the information was really useful. You
Yeah.
highlighted things that I think were very helpful.
I agree 100%.
that's good.
Yes. So we can take a 5-minute break and
Do
try to
that.
get a hold of Matt Ellis real quick.
thank you.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you've been great.
Okay, we are returning to our agenda and we have a quarterly report presentation from our district attorney's office. So please introduce yourself, Mr. Ellis. Are you green to go?
Right.
Wait, just,
Press and let go, yeah. Is that green now?
That's flashing green.
That's
yes,
good.
flashing green is good.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today, commissioners. I am Matt Ellis. I'm the Hood River District Attorney. I just completed my first year in office.
Yay.
Thank you. I just kind of giving a brief overview of the office and wanted to show you a few things from the data dashboard from this past year. So I can share my screen here. How do I share my screen?
If you're on the bottom of your meeting. The green button in the middle. Button.
There we go. There we go. So just a quick overview of this. I believe some of the information on here was in my first quarterly report last year, but I just want to briefly go over what the office looks like, a little bit about our budget, and also kind of give the overview of what a single adult criminal case looks like. And then after that, I was just going to pull up the data dashboard, kind of play around with it a little bit to show you some of the statistics about like what we're charging out, where those cases are coming from, and see if you guys have any questions about that. So first of all, our office, our budget annually is around $700,000 or so. The office, including myself, consists of 8 people. So that's me, where my salary is, since I'm in this weird position where I'm technically I run a county office. My entire office is county employees, but everything that comes out of our office is actually says state of Oregon on it, so I'm a state employee. I have 3 deputy district attorneys. 2 of them are paid for out of our general funds, a little bit of grant money for some of our domestic violence cases and child abuse cases. One of our DDAs is primarily funded she only does DUIs, and she's funded by an ODOT grant, and that comes from that. I'm sure you've heard this before, but Hood River County has we charge more DUIs per capita than any county in the state. So which is a little bit of an anomaly, but it comes from, I think a lot of that comes from just that we have a large drinking establishments in a small downtown area. So a lot of our city police, it makes it pretty easy pickings to get those DUIs in this, especially in those summer months, when they just have to just patrol around downtown. They can find reasons to pull people over and do DUI investigations. They are dangerous, as my DUI attorney is constantly pointing out to somebody to us that any one of those could potentially kill somebody, and we did actually have one of those this past year where we did have a DUI death, but that was out on county roads outside the city. The rest of the office consists of an office manager. We have 1 victim advocate that's mainly funded by grants, and we have 2 legal secretaries in the office. One of them mainly does discovery. Discovery is a pretty intense job these days because because all law enforcement now have body cams, there's dash cams, there's a lot of discovery to collect, even for the most minor misdemeanor that we have to provide over to defense to have, as far as our constitutional obligations to make sure that they are fully aware of everything that's any evidence that might be brought against a defendant. So this is this was all in the reports that I gave back. It was the 3rd quarter of the last fiscal year, so my first quarterly report that I gave. I did this outline back when I was in Wasco County, just to give a broad overview about how a criminal case starts and the entire lifespan of it. So initially, an incident would happen, and then law enforcement will respond to that. It could be law enforcement, could be any of the other emergency responders. That after somebody calls into dispatch or 911, then law enforcement will take when they respond, whichever enforcement agency will be, whether it be the city police, state police, or our sheriff's office, or in some cases intertribe. They'll make a determination that when there's an incident, if there's probable cause, which means more likely than not that a crime occurred, they can arrest or cite that person. Not everybody is taken to NORCOR, but sometimes with misdemeanor, somebody is just cited with a court date to appear out of custody later. They will then, when that happens, if it's somebody is held overnight, then we get those police reports, and you need them by the next morning. So an attorney can make a charging decision about whether that there's going to be any criminal charges filed or we have sufficient evidence. Our burden for charging, we make decisions based on whether we think we can prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, whereas law enforcement might make an arrest just based on whether there's probable cause. So we make a little bit higher standard for charging versus what they might do for an arrest. I have encouraged law enforcement, if they have any questions out in the field, if they want to give us a call. I know a couple of, they have all of our cell phone numbers. I've taken calls in the middle of the night for domestic violence cases about whether there's a probable cause to arrest if somebody needs to be arrested that night, or if if it's something that we just don't have enough for an arrest or a charge on. There's also other possibilities for referrals. Like I know Sheriff English and Rebecca have come over here and talked about our lead program. That's another option that they can do when they respond. If somebody's taking the NORCOR, they either might get booked and printed with SB 48, whether they're going to be held overnight. If it's certain cases that meets the threshold, they're held overnight, and we have to make a charging decision in the morning. If somebody is arrested and given conditions of release, but they're not held, then we have to make a charging decision within 96 hours because it is a restraint on liberty to have release conditions without being charged with a crime, because sometimes release conditions can be involved. You can't go back to your home. You can't have contact with this person. You can't travel outside the state. So essentially, the courts have determined that we can't be putting those types of restrictions on somebody for more than 96 hours without charging them. So they'll come to a docket at special for the court where they might be out of custody, but it'll be the in custody daily docket for the courts. So we'll get those reports and have to make those charging decisions fairly quickly as well. So if somebody might be released, they're given conditions of release, and then they're given another either in custody day if they're held or out of custody. During this time, we're constantly doing review of cases. If sometimes we don't have all the information, we have enough to make a charging decision. Frequently, cases as we gather more information, the charges may change. They may go up, may go down. When we hear assaults, sometimes, for example, that if we hear an assault, we think, well, we heard there's some physical injury. We're not sure how significant this physical injury is, or if there was a weapon used. If we get that information later, we find out, oh, this injury is much worse than we initially thought, or there isn't much of an injury here or not, and the charges may go up or down. If somebody is held in custody on a felony charge, we have to take those cases to grand jury fairly quickly. So grand jury we hold once a week. I know our HR, our Karen was very familiar with grand jury because she was on our grand jury panel this last quarter. We do that because we have 5 days to get cases to grand jury if we're going to keep somebody held. Otherwise, we might have to release them if we don't get those cases and indicted to grand jury. So in the past, prior administrations tried to forego grand jury and would send offers for somebody to waive grand jury if they were going to take some offer. The defense attorneys, I don't understand that they didn't really push it as hard as now that I've started taking all our felony cases to grand jury. Now they seem to be more, what's the best word for it? They are definitely more aggressive in asking for their client's release if the case is not indicted within that 5-day period. I find it problematic if we have felony cases that were not taken to grand jury. I know my attorneys agree with me that if we have something that's serious to be charged as a felony, we should be having that review for grand jury on it. It also gives us a bit of a preview about what our witnesses will testify to, how they're going to testify, or even if they want to show up for grand jury. And I find myself frequently changing charging instruments as I hear evidence come out at grand jury and realizing like, oh, like the way this read in the police report is very different than the way I'm hearing this testimony come out. So I will frequently charge my indictments at grand jury. I think it's a very important step in the criminal justice process. It does take up a lot of time and a lot of resources out of my office to do that. But if we are charging felonies, I think it is an important step. And that's why we have it in Oregon. Not all states do grand jury. So I just talked about grand jury. We have discovery. We have an obligation to get the defense everything that we have. So that's collecting all the police reports, all the audio, video, witness lists, who may or may not have seen a case. Anything that might be exculpatory or inculpatory, we need to work on. We need to get that to defense. So we have one of my legal secretaries is basically, she has become a full-time discovery clerk. Definitely with the addition of more video and audio that we're getting from police, it's definitely a much more strenuous job now because sometimes downloading the mass amounts of media that we have can take a while. And getting that out to defense, sometimes, especially with I will say that the legal field is definitely one that drags its feet when it comes to technology. So we do find ourselves having to do, for especially some of the older defense attorneys, we are having to make thumb drives or sometimes even CDs instead of just hitting the send button on a zip file. So once we get to that point where we've figured out what we're charging, criminal or misdemeanor, or felony or misdemeanor, and we get to the point with all the discoveries out, we go to the defense has options. We send offers. They have defendants have that they have the right to go to a jury trial. The vast majority of cases do result in plea bargaining. It definitely, if every case that was coming through to us would go to trial, it would completely weigh down the system and we would never get anything done. And the reality is sometimes witnesses and victims do realize that there is a lot more strain of having a case drag out, possibly having to go to trial. There's a finality to it. Any case that does go to trial does also, even if we get a guilty verdict, there's also appeals, anything that could have gone wrong with the evidence or the way that was presented, or if there's a change in the law, the Court of Appeals finds something to nitpick with what happened in a trial. Like I had a case that came back on a theft case because the jury instruction on theft in the first degree changed. And so I had a case come back on a burglary in the first degree because of that bad jury instruction on a theft one. So that one's still being dealt with in Wasco County, despite the fairly quick guilty verdict on it. So there are lots of options besides just either incarceration or not guilty. There are convictions with incarceration. There can be convictions that with probation. There can be convictions where probation happens, but if the person cannot complete probation or gets revoked on their probation, they could wind up going to DOC custody on the back end of it. We do have diversions such as DUII. It's statutory with DUI diversion if somebody is eligible for it. We have other things that if we have people that don't have much of a criminal history, but something happens that we can see that if they could just possibly get some drug and alcohol counseling or treatment, pay some restitution, we can try to get that person to give them a chance to do what's called a district attorney's diversion, where if they meet the conditions, then they enter a guilty plea. If they can meet the conditions, it winds up getting dismissed. If they can't, then they've already entered a guilty plea and we will sentence them on the back end of it. There's civil compromises, which usually happens with property crimes, where the defendant will talk or their attorney will talk to a victim. And if there's a way to compensate the victim in a way that they feel that resolves the issue, and we don't object to it, that they just essentially the defendant puts the money into a trust account, and then that the judge agrees to a civil compromise, that money gets released to a victim. We've dealt with that in some cases where we don't want to see we'd rather see the victim getting compensated versus trying to drag something out, getting a restitution judgment, watching the person just pay like $100 a month on a restitution, rather than just get their entire compensation up front and the victim's been satisfied on that, especially with somebody that doesn't have much criminal history. We have multiple specialty courts now, which did not exist about 5 years ago. We have a mental health court. We have a DUII / recovery court, where people with felony DUIs, or if their convictions are based on addiction issues, they can enter this very intense outpatient court program to try to get either charges reduced or not get revoked on their probation. We do see a lot of people that are on probation for a long term and just really, really struggling on probation and possibly looking at a long sentence. This is their chance to try to finally figure it out. There's GEI pleas, which is rare. It does happen though, where we have somebody whose crime is based on they were having a mental health episode when it happened. Usually those are higher level felonies, but those somebody who pleads GEI or gets convicted with GEI, or it's not a conviction, they wind up at the state hospital and getting to the psychiatric review board for the term of whatever the longest felony that they were sentenced to. So they could wind up, if it's an A felony, they could be winding up basically to the mercy of the psychiatric review board for 20 years, or if it's a B felony, 10 years.
Could you tell us what that acronym means?
It's PSRB.
No, the GEI.
Oh,
Guilty
GI.
except insanity.
Guilty except insanity.
They're really little letters.
Yes, I'm sorry. So I tried to put it on the background. This actually might work, and it was just like it's winter time, so I was trying to say snow and not ice. And we also have a restorative justice program through Six Rivers on cases that are accepted down there. So we've created a decent toolbox of ways to try to resolve cases that are just outside the traditional model of either go to jail or get acquitted. So I think we're still working on some other ones, but I think that we've done a fairly good job, and I'll give former DA Rasmussen some credit because we worked on a lot of these together in the last 4 years. And then of course there's also if somebody goes to trial, their sentencing is in the hands of the judge. We don't see as many trials here as we do in other jurisdictions, and I think that's because I'm proud to say that we're pretty good at evaluating our cases and realizing which ones are good trial cases, which ones are not, and which ones can fit into these other possible toolboxes that don't involve going to trial. So I do hear from a lot of other jurisdictions where some of those cases that would otherwise be going to trial are because like they're just not good cases and they're getting not guilty verdicts. I've heard from, I don't want to say which one, but I've heard other jurisdictions where it's like a pretty much 50-50 whether a defendant's going to get acquitted or not. So we're trying not to waste court's time. We're trying not to waste our jurors' time. We want to make sure that when we're taking cases to trial that we're actually going to be getting guilty verdicts on those cases. And then even after a case is finished, it's not done yet. Probation and incarceration. Somebody's on probation. They're still monitoring the probation office. We work very closely with our probation officers, and if we have issues with somebody who's on probation and they're violating their probation, we could file probation violations, and either continue their probation or revoke their probation, possibly send them to one of our specialty courts, or any other option that we have. So it doesn't matter. Just because we finish a case and have somebody sentenced, it does not mean it's completely over from our end. And then after that, I wanted to have some pictures of the dashboard, which you really can't see. I may as well just pull up the dashboard because this did not turn out as well as I was hoping it would. Does anybody have any questions about that?
How many jury trials do we have a year, roughly?
Oh, I would say we have at least 1 or 2 a month. Most of them are misdemeanors. I mean, I would say the vast majority of our trials are DUIs.
Okay.
I think it's because the statute for DUI is like if you're not diversion eligible, then if it's a first time conviction, there's not a lot of risk because there's not a lot of leeway as far as how we're going to sentence somebody.
Right.
It's very statutorily driven. So I think that the reason those wind up going to trials because even if you lose a trial, you're not going to do much worse than the offer anyway. So the risk reward is you just may as well take those cases to trial. So those are the main trials that we see in the courthouse.
You said 1 to 2 per month.
Yeah.
I was just asking when I was left on jury duty, it was in the middle of the summer. But there were no trials at all for the entire quarter. But I guess that was because of the summer.
That doesn't mean there weren't trials. I was on jury duty the first quarter of last year. And there was a few trials that happened. Just that you're not always emailed because your number's not called.
Oh, I thought I seem to remember being told each week to not even check in.
Okay. I mean, usually there's
I could have misremembered.
Yeah. I was getting emails weekly about cases that were potentially going to go to trial or not, but then you just look at the numbers and like if your number's not on there, you just ignore it.
Yeah, in the entire quarter, there were 2 times where they actually had numbers, and those 2 both settled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was entire summer, but I'm just guessing is summer like that or?
Summer, I mean, it's sometimes things resolve at the last minute. But there's also like, summer months. We seem to get a lot of cases that come in the summertime because we get the tourists that are coming through and the drunken things happen. So we do get quite a few cases that come in the summer, whether trials are going to go or not. I mean, people are on vacation. We have witness unavailability issues.
Right.
So that may have been part of it. I mean, when I was in the wintertime, I was getting those emails weekly, but my number just wasn't getting called. And the one time it was called, I was supposed to be in court in Wasco County. So I had to tell the judge that I can't be ordered to be in two places at once.
Right. Right. You're going to do a live demo?
So this is our data dashboard. Yeah.
Can I warn you that as a software development manager, all my folks knew to never try to do a live demo in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well, fortunately, this is. So what I have up here are already pulled up. This is basically the referred cases by, I believe this is from the Hood River City Police over the course of the last from 2021 through the end of 2025. So you can see how it has ebbed and flowed. Those are just based on the referrals that we get. So we can we're very reactive our office in that we charge cases based on what we receive from law enforcement. So if our referrals are down, our case numbers are down. If our referrals go up, our case numbers go up. So there was definitely a dip, I will say, back in 2025. It seemed usually December is the month that where we're just not getting a lot of referrals because it's the holidays. Yet somehow December of 2025 was our biggest month. We had almost 100 referrals total in January of 2025.
That's the peak in the middle.
The January 25 is the peak at the very end. The peak in the middle there, that's July of 2023.
Okay.
So so this is, I'm going to try to do. These are all our referrals for the year 2025. Set date range. I'm sorry, this is cases issued. Oops, sorry, I did the wrong thing.
Cases issues means citations.
Issued means ones we charged out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So even if we any case that comes to us that we review, and whether we charge it out or not, like we still have to do something with it. We have to write, an attorney that reviews it sends whichever, whether it be a sheriff's deputy or an officer that sends us the report, will send them at least I will send them a quick email that says like, hey, this is why I didn't charge this out.
Okay.
This is why I was missing this, or I just didn't have this, or like you had probable cause to arrest, but I don't think I have enough to charge this out. So
and that's what you're counting here.
So this is all the cases referred from all law enforcement agencies in 2025. So 733, which is a fairly low number. And you can see on the right that the total for each month of last year. And we had a pretty significant dip in the fall of last year. And I think the only thing I can attribute that to is that there were some vacancies in both the city police and I know that there was at least one officer that was on long-term personal leave, and that there was also some vacancies from the sheriff's office as well. So we weren't getting the amount of referrals that we usually got, but to see how much that bounced back in December, it seems like some of those new hires were getting us some reports by the end of the year.
Adults and minors, everyone.
Yeah. So when I say referrals, like we have. Usually if it's a juvenile case, the referral will be made to the juvenile department. They will send me an email with the report and say like, hey, we have to charge something out here. What do we want to charge? I'll talk about if we're going to file any kind of petition with the juvenile, and then they'll send it back to me to put into our system, which is a little convoluted, but we're using different software than they are, so we have to work with it.
But it will eventually show up here.
Yeah, so the juvenile stuff will show up
Just a
here.
couple of months later.
And What I would like to do at some point would be able to have a bit more of a show what the types of cases. Unfortunately, with our system, it's only as good as what you put into it. And so what I probably need to do is I need to get some high school intern to come to my office and go back last 5 years worth of cases and mark them to go through each case individually and mark them with a case type. Just so I can have a bit more accurate about what types of cases, because beyond that, the only data I can really show when we issue a case is that you can see what the lead charge is, but it doesn't tell you what all the charges are. So, for instance, here in 2025, you can see the lead charge, which means essentially what's count one on each charging instrument. Is that, I mean, the DUIs are significantly, that number is 167, by the way, out of 637 total cases charged. So that's clearly our biggest number. But if you kind of start scrolling through, going down a little bit, you can start to see that, like, hey, there's multiple kinds of thefts. There's theft 3, there's theft 1, theft 2. The property crimes, you start adding up those property crimes, it starts to get to be a bit bigger number. But you have to go through and go like, okay, there's 26 that were just theft 3s. There was 12 that hit theft 1. Theft 2, there's 30. So you do the math on that. That's 56, 68. But they'll come out different because we hit different levels of theft on those. So you can see like the range of the cases that were at least with the lead charges on a lot of our cases. And the vast majority of these are, you have to go all the way down to theft 1 to get to your first felony. Everything else on there is a misdemeanor. Or everything above that is a misdemeanor.
What does it take for DUII to be a felony?
It has to be a third conviction in 10 years. Jessica's the expert on that one. She is. I will say, Jessica, I've never met somebody in my life who's more passionate about prosecuting DUIs than Jessica. I think there's one person in the state who her dream job would be to be a prosecutor doing nothing but Deweys, and we have her in the office. I also wanted to point out one of the things that I did mention, I know in my report, is that so you can also break these down by a referring agency. And if you can see that, you can see the Hood River Police Department of the total number of cases that were referred to my office. 379 came from the Hood River City Police Department. 264 came from the Hood River Sheriff's Office. 82 from Oregon State Police, and then 6 from Intertribe. And I don't know why it says null on the other one.
So you characterize the DUIs as a major cause of that being the number of drinking establishments downtown.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, I think that differs from what Carrie told us in that she said that most of them were people consuming at home or not alcohol, but other substances.
That has been my experience.
That's what I'm asking.
My experience is that so we have a small downtown area.
Yes.
You have 2 city police officers that are just driving around downtown between the hours of like 10 and 2 at night.
Right.
And it's so to do a DUI stop, you just need basically just need somebody to have a traffic violation. And it's really easy to pull somebody over for a traffic violation driving through downtown Hood River. I mean, I'm sure every one of us commits one just going from here to just across town in downtown Hood River, because
it's say not me either.
Well,
so the 2 of us never ever have done that.
I mean, how many times have you pulled into a crosswalk that you just can't see around the corner to see if somebody's coming when you turn?
Yeah. I
mean, technically that's enough to get stopped for a traffic violation. And then somebody gets stopped for a traffic violation rolling through a stop sign, and not coming to a complete stop.
I do remember the data from Hood River Prevents that the DUIs were at the red carpet and Jack's, the
Oh,
The places that are open the latest.
Right.
Right?
Because that's the last.
The
place
last
someone
place
drank.
that.
Right, so
I
you
got that,
just-
but I just remember, I thought Carrie was pretty clear, because we questioned that, because it seems, what you're saying seems to match common sense, I guess, if that
Well,
matters.
I'm not saying that there's more DUIs in Hood River, because we didn't see very many from the Dallas City Police when I was in Wasco County. We saw, but the city police had different calls for service. So if there's somebody who's not getting a call for service because there's domestic going on and they're just
Right.
patrolling around downtown Hood River, stopping somebody who's leaving the red carpet or leaving Jack's and doing a DUI investigation, then we're much more likely to be getting more DUIs based on than having
Sure.
other calls of service, which might be pulling somebody away from downtown.
But from a policy point of view, you might respond differently if, given the information that you just gave us compared to the information that we were getting from Carrie.
Respond. I mean, if we get a good DUI case, we're going to charge it with.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, in terms of, if you're a city council making, decisions about where to spend money, or board of commissioners making decisions on where to spend money, are you focusing on, are you going to try to do, more enforcement in terms of, getting the, drinking establishments to be doing a better job of patrolling this, or of policing it, and as they do? I'm maybe using the wrong terms, but that might be more of a focus, right?
I think I remember this discussion, and to a certain extent, part of it was that if you ask a person who's been charged with drunk driving if they drank at home or at an establishment, they might say, what I recall in this discussion previously was that they might say that they drank at home in order not to get people, this was a theory, and so that they wouldn't get in trouble, the people that overserved. And I'm not saying I have an opinion about this. I just recall that part of that was the discussion about if you ask a drunk person how they got drunk, they might tell you home and it wasn't home. That's what I remember from that conversation. And if you ask them where they got drunk, do they tell you?
But the other piece was, it wasn't, I thought she said the majority wasn't drunk, it was other substances or alcohol.
Yeah,
combination with
that's the
other
big part.
substances, right?
The analysis, she had the volunteer that was working with
Right.
her in the prevention office, and they were also looking at prevention protocols for
Right.
where to insert
Right.
the appropriate education.
Right.
And so there was some analysis that was done around where things were coming from that led to the substances
Right.
getting trafficked
Right.
into town.
I guess,
That piece of it, yes.
yeah, I guess my point is simply to let you know that whatever information you can provide to policymakers about the complexion of the largest charging piece of your work would be helpful, because both the city and the county do have to make decisions and do have some ability to do things.
Right. And from my perspective is that, like, look, city and the city police are going to make decisions on how they
Sure.
view, allocating their limited resources to their police, just like Sheriff English is going to make decisions on how he's going to allocate his resources with the sheriff's office. Whether, and there might be less cases that we get from Sheriff English's office because there's a big search and rescue or something else that's going on that demands community safety from them that isn't sending referrals to my office. From my point of view, what I'm seeing is that we are getting the vast majority of our DUI cases from the city. When I was in Wasco County, we were getting the vast majority of our DUIs from the Oregon State Police. And that's because they have, their station is out there, it's right there on 84, out there on the east side of the Dalles. There's more highways that kind of go with that OSP patrols over there. OSP has more of a presence on the highways out in Wasco County than they do here in Hood River. So we do see a good number of DUIs in Wasco than we here in Hood River versus Wasco County, but not nearly the volume that we see from OSP that I saw out there. I also see a lot more DUIs coming in from the Hood River City Police, because that is clearly what they have put a focus on with some of their officers for community safety. So I have seen that. So the vast majority of our DUIs come from that department.
Right.
So that's the big thing that I'm seeing, whether it is questions about where people are drinking or whether they're using controlled substances. versus whether we're having, a lot of these are alcohol deweys, whether these are drug deweys, whether they're combined drug and alcohol deweys. That's a little bit of a different question, but I can affirmatively tell you that we're getting a large number of our caseload from DUIs that are referred to us by the Hood River City Courts.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's the question I asked.
I'm happy to play around with this more if anybody has any other questions about it. I did have a reason for cases rejection, which I did find needs a better date range, because as pointed out to me the first time I presented to the city, why is other the most consistent number? That number has actually been going down over the past year because I asked our office manager to put more reasons for declining cases than just the handful that we had in there before. The problem is that I think what was happening was that attorneys were putting declined other than putting a note in the file, which doesn't really reflect when you're trying to put together a data dashboard what the note in the file was. So that I believe that with our rejection, why cases were getting rejected over the past year, we've actually been a bit better about our reasoning on it. So now insufficient evidence is the top one, and not when the other number has come down substantially.
That seems like it would make sense.
So I'm still working the data dashboard. It's still a bit of a work in progress. What I would, yeah, at some point I definitely want to have case types on there so that we can get a better view of like property crimes versus person crimes versus driving crimes. But again, our data is what we put into it, and I'm trying to catch up. I wanted DDA to Camp to be here because Norcor has been, I know it's been a big issue, and I wanted to give her all the credit for it, but she started a rapid referral program, which I know she's been working with Sheriff English quite a bit with. Essentially, when we have somebody gets held in Norcor and they have what's known as aid and assist issues, so they're mental health issues, can't aid and assist in their own defense. Sometimes to get that initial evaluation, somebody sits in Norcor for a long time before they can get that initial evaluation about whether they need to go to the state hospital or if there's some kind of other placements or community rehabilitation that can happen. DDA DeCant has been amazing about getting a contract in place where we can get somebody referred to immediately so they can get those evaluations done right at the beginning, so somebody's not sitting there lingering in Norcor for a while. So that bed's not being taken up. So hopefully that will help save a little bit with Norcor as we go forward with this. But I was hoping she could talk more about it because this was her baby. And I'm sure I'll probably try to put that together the next quarterly report and have her write something up about it, because that was definitely something that she did.
I have a question on another subject. Do we still have time?
We do, we have,
So you don't have something else you're squeezing into this period?
no,
Okay.
Did you want to squeeze in something on the quarterly reports for sharing for budget and finance?
Grants.
Well, we can do that in a
That's
step
great.
too. We can do that either place.
We
I
can
just
do
want to
that.
know if there's anything that has to be before 6. So my question, and it's similar to the question I asked the sheriff a couple of meetings ago. There are, you may have watched the news, you may be aware that there are many assertions that we hear that there are illegal activities being committed by people who may or may not be federal officers, and there are violations of constitutional rights being committed. And I'm wondering, I would presume that the decision as to whether any of those rise to the risk of being addressed would be the decision that would come across your desk. So what can you tell us about the reality of, we hear things on the street like everybody else. Do you have any additional insight you can share with us about what the complexion is of those activities in our community?
That is a loaded question.
I have done this before. And you've answered in whatever way you would like to answer.
So there are, if we have illegal activities happening, like I would like to think that the prosecution for any violation of state law that happens within Hood River County, like the ultimate decision to prosecute somebody is going to be mine.
Right.
I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I personally know the Hennepin County District Attorney, Mary Moriarty. I was just at a conference with her back in December. I feel for her, what's going on with just the shooting and let's call it what it is, the murder that just happened at the hands of a federal agent in Minneapolis. And there are a lot of complications to prosecuting federal agents. There's immunity issues, there's the supremacy clause to the US Constitution. If Sheriff English his office is trying to investigate one of these crimes, the feds have no obligation to share any information with him, whether it be body cam, any dash cam, or any of their own reports. If they don't want to do an investigation, then they're not going to do it. If we can actually, if something, God forbid, that happens, like that happened in Minneapolis, and we have sufficient evidence to take one of these cases to grand jury and try to charge one of these federal agents for committing a crime, the feds have the right to remove that case to federal court, and all of a sudden the presidential appointed U.S. attorney for the district attorney is the U.S. attorney for the District of Oregon is the one prosecuting that case. I know my colleagues from the Portland area, DA's offices for Washington County, Multnomah County, and Clackamas County. That'll be Kevin Barton, Nathan Vasquez, and John Wentworth. They sent a letter to Trump and Bondi and Kristi Noem asking them to stop all illegal activity in the Portland area and in Oregon. They didn't get a response. From the conversation I had with DA Wentworth, it sounds like what they were told by the U.S. attorney that his bosses told him that if you prosecute an ICE agent, we're going to arrest the district attorney. So I'm not afraid to get arrested by those guys, but it would be extremely difficult.
So, but had any cases been referred to you?
I've talked to some citizens.
Yep.
I've watched some video from citizens. The video that I've seen,
Nothing chargeable.
There was nothing I can do with those, not chargeable. I've not had any actual referrals that I've seen.
It's hard for us to know the reality of, we hear all these stories, and it's hard to know how many of them are based on, overreactions or reasonable reactions. Or
I had somebody in my office showing me a video of her interactions with somebody that appeared to be a federal agent.
Right.
It wasn't what I saw in that video. I told her, I kind of there's nothing here to charge. Unfortunately. But it's, we also have to be very conscious of what I'm looking at when I'm charging. Like, I have to make the same charging decisions I would for anybody else.
Which is it likely to be
whether I can prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt with this person?
Can you speak to statute of limitations for certain crime?
Felony is 3 years. Misdemeanors too. Just like everybody else. Administrations change.
When I was there, when you spoke at city council, I appreciated your comments and talking about, we can gather as much information as we can, and if there's a crime, I heard you say that you would prosecute it and comes of it. And
we will see. I'm interested in watching what's going to happen in Minneapolis. I know that district attorney's office and that attorney general are seeing what they can do. But we'll see.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make, if there's anything, well, I asked the sheriff about it, and he's still back in there. You jump up if I'm saying anything incorrect, please. But the question was about what if if all you have to do if you want to commit a crime is take the license plates off your car because you can't do anything to cars without license plates on them, that creates a real law enforcement issue for us, right? That's, you know, if the presumption is that a car without license plates on it is a federal car and therefore we can't do anything about it, that sure creates a lot of incentive for people to just take their plates off to do whatever they feel like doing. And so we asked the sheriff about that, and he said that if we see, then again, tell me if I'm wrong, but that if we see a car without plates on it, we should call the non-emergency number and report it, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
He was still sitting, so yes.
Okay, you didn't jump up for that. So the answer was yes. So, I mean, from a citizen's point of view, that's the first step. And then in terms of whether there's a stop happening and whether there's a charge happening, that's all the steps that happen after that, right?
Right, and we're talking about, you know, somebody driving without proper, proper registration.
Right.
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen that kind of thing. Like we have these quasi comitatus sovereign citizens have been doing this kind of stuff for years.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many nuances to that question because there's so many nuances to Oregon's traffic code. And so it's not illegal to drive without license plates if you have a temporary in the window. Did that car have a temporary? I don't know.
Right.
We don't have enough information, but
Right.
you can go out and see 15 cars driving around downtown without license plates because they're new, right? So I guess, you know, we need more information, but
I just want to make sure that
it's a minor traffic violation.
Right. And I think we had somebody like that was in Cascade Locks that was driving around. That was just a local citizen.
I heard it here.
Yeah.
From Commissioner Murray. So
right.
Yeah, I think somebody called me about that, and I went down to and I think I talked to the under sheriff. Just like, can you go find this person, tell them to stop?
It just seems like on top of all the other issues, if we create a circumstance where there is no enforcement that happens if someone's driving, if someone simply takes their plates off their car, that's
I mean, it's
a big problem.
as the sheriff said, it's a traffic violation for somebody in normal times.
Right.
That's traffic violation, just like you know, improper display of your license plate. Like somebody tries to display their license plate in the front window because they have like a you know, aftermarket bumper on the front of their car that doesn't have a license plate holder on it.
Right.
Like that's the same level of traffic violation as like driving around without proper license.
Right, but that at least lets you then start to follow up on that and
Right.
figure out what else is going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it essentially it would if they stopped them, but you know, after they can only be detained so long for a minor traffic violation.
Yeah, I'm not trying to create a cause to detain someone. The focus of this part of the question is on whether we're losing the ability to control how vehicles are identified. Right.
Enforcing regular laws,
Oh, yeah.
2025.
Yeah, no, nothing's changed
Yeah.
there. Yeah, as far as enforcement laws.
Same with assault, same with kidnapping,
Yeah.
same with.
Right, so if you get a call and someone says that
murder.
there's this car, it doesn't have plates on it, doesn't have a temporary, if someone's nearby, they'll investigate, is that? But you're not gonna divert someone from an emergency call or something for that, you will follow up if
Yeah, I mean, we get
possible.
compliance card.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. There's dispatch out available units.
Great, thank you.
I usually don't conduct those traffic stops.
Excuse me?
I usually don't conduct those traffic stops.
No, I know you don't, but I was wondering if they did happen, somebody might eventually come to you about it, and I wanted to know.
Yeah,
if
it
that
might,
happens, just
so
talk to the sheriff.
violations don't come to my office.
Right,
So like, yeah, we have federal agents committing what would be violations that would not, a crime has to be something that somebody could actually be incarcerated for any length of time for. Traffic violations is not one of those things.
but it could turn into that depending on what was found when they were stopped.
I mean, yeah, if there's, you know, if they pull somebody over and there's a bunch of tied up people in the back of the car, that opens up a kidnapping investigation.
There you go.
So
Hasn't happened yet. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you
Thank
have,
Sheriff?
and thank you for your report, and at the end, your thoughtful discussion of funding. So,
yeah, I mean, I would, I guess I should reiterate that, this ODOT funded attorney that we have, that grant is not guaranteed to stay past this next fiscal year. I think it would be highly detrimental to take our office down from 8 to 7. This is, for counting the population of the size of Hood River, we are a pretty small DA's office, and we're finding out that if anybody has the gall to take some time off or has to take some medical leave, that it becomes a very stressful situation for the rest of those, because we can only seem to function right now at full staff. So I would, at the very least, I think I'm working with trying to find some other grants. I know I'm working with DA Davis over in Wasco County and see if there's ways we could actually have somebody that's higher that can actually be split between the two offices. But I think it'd be very difficult to lose that attorney position if we lose that grant. So I think that I would just encourage the county and the city to have those kind of conversations about that we want to keep this attorney position. This attorney position very much benefits a lot of those city cases that come to us. The reality is that we are this weird office that we charge everything to the state. In an ideal world, we would all be state employees because everything we file says state of Oregon on it. But that's not the reality we live in. And I know the city is just going to tell us that this is like no other city helps fund their DA's office, but there are a lot of cities that also do have their own courts that take a lot of misdemeanor pressure off the DA's offices. I really do not want to get into a situation that a lot of my colleagues around the state have, where they're telling their citizens that we just don't have the capacity to charge B and C misdemeanors, because as you can see from the outline, even those cases, they take a bandwidth. They take a lot of bandwidth, and those are the cases that are most likely to go to trial because there's lower risk reward. And we would like to be able to focus on some of the higher level cases. And I know DDA DeCant and I have found that we've been able to focus on other projects because we have this attorney that's bearing the brunt of all these DUIs, so the rest of us don't have to. So I would very much like the city and the county, and I'll be telling the city, just help me figure it out.
And this is where all the questions I was asking about the character of those cases
Right.
that were being charged, that's where it's really helpful and important to know and understand that. And there is a bit of dissonance between what you're saying, and what we were hearing before. So we're going to have to, I think the city and the county are both, both bodies are going to be trying to sort of sort that out in their heads and figure, okay, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
And so everything you can do to help us with.
Yeah, and DDA Walsh did point something out to me too. She's been dealing with a lot of our property crimes, and especially with some of our bigger box stores like Walmart and Safeway.
Yep.
Because they have drastically increased the number of self-checkouts that are happening at those stores. It has increased the number of reports we've gotten out of those stores for thefts.
Right.
So maybe we should have a conversation with those stores about well, you guys are saving money by doing this, but you're also increasing our workload.
Yeah, I think actually the movement is the other way. They're discovering they're not saving money that way.
Oh, they are? Okay.
because there's so much theft.
Right.
Yeah, which is leading us
I
always.
think we read the same article.
Which is also which is leading us to a lot of those misdemeanor thefts that we get through our office that take up a lot of our bandwidth.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe those are all city types of cases. And I think I overestimated how much it actually costs for one of those attorneys. I think I said 180 in my report, and after double checking with finance, it's actually closer to 160. So it's a little bit less than I actually thought. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Have we peppered with enough adequate number of questions?
I don't say anything more.
All right. Thank you very much.
Open invite, you guys. Please come see the office, meet the staff, see our new space. We've done a lot with it, especially the past year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Did we want to speak about grants or talk about that?
We'll do. I will call our business meeting to order for the Hood River County Board of Commissioners on January 20th it is 6:10. We are 10 minutes after our appointed hour. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Commissioner Euwer, we have a number of items. So we have a supplemental agenda that has 4 items. 3 would be added to the consent agenda. So and then 1 would be added as a new business item to make sure that we get the rotation of vice chair selected in your committee assignments. And then I think there was some discussion about consent items. You can obviously have that at that time on the consent agenda. So,
Okay. Should we do a motion now?
yes.
So we have the consent that has KLM for our business meeting and new business C, the election of the vice chair. And is there a motion to?
Supplemental agenda. So you're looking for motion on the supplemental?
Yes,
agenda.
to add it to our agenda.
Oh, okay, yes. I would move that we add the supplemental agenda, consent agenda items to the agenda for the regular meeting.
I would second the motion.
Any discussion? Commissioner Moretti?
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer?
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Are there any conflicts or potential conflicts of interest? Hearing none, we'll move on. Is there any public comment, including online? Did anyone come to give public comment? And is there anyone online?
Online.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we will move on and start with our administrator's report.
Okay. Well, good evening, board members. In your packet, we have the quarterly reports from all of our departments. Just a reminder of all of the good work going on out there across the county. We have the 6-month update from Budget and Finance in regards to the review of operation. And then I would also point you to the quarterly report from our HR department that gives you the flow of the employees and our turnover rates, which I think was really helpful as a thorough report this time. I did want to note that for this evening's agenda, the process that we went through last fall with the open house and public comment for the forest management plan, and looking at our agenda for tonight, made a determination that we needed a special meeting to address that because of a number of things on our agenda. So we do have that special meeting set up for Thursday, February 19th from 3 to 5. I also wanted to remind you all, we have advertising out currently to attract volunteers for the Odell Unincorporated Community Plan Advisory Committee. This is a special committee designation where we would appoint 4 members to be added to the Planning Commission, and they would be the advisory committee for the Odell Community Plan Update. And just want to let you know that that advertisement is out. We have interested applicants. The interviews would take place at your February meeting. Eric, was there anything you wish to add to that?
No, just other than there's 4 people that we're looking to track, and
right.
I know that we've already got that. Okay,
so 4 positions open, and we are getting good interest, so that is great. In your packet, you have the Baker Tilly schedule. So we did a review on Friday with the preliminary work that they are going through. I think the tool that they are putting together for our budget projections is going to be a really helpful tool. And so we have a stakeholder interview scheduled. We did ask for a couple of budget committee members. So I believe Commissioner Weathers and Commissioner Babbitts, you were asked for stakeholder meeting.
But I haven't gotten any confirmation of a date on my calendar.
We're still, I think, working on that. Yes. And so we are hoping that actually they'll be able to preview that tool with you during the stakeholder meetings in February. So I'm pretty excited about that development. Just a reminder that we will need to pull together the compensation committee. And in a review of our charter, the compensation committee is a separate committee, statutorily compensation board. So they actually can meet outside of the budget process. So, but our charter does specify that it is the lay members of our budget committee. And so all of the budget committee members are in term. So we'll be scheduling that meeting in March, and that compensation analysis is occurring currently. Another item that we had come up is the FEMA flood hazard map update. And so the statutory 90-day appeal period officially ended at the end of December, and a comment was received. It has been evaluated and a response has been provided. And the county has a 30-day opportunity to respond to that. And so I believe that at this time, if the board had any additional input they would want to receive or provide within this 30-day period, they could do so. Did I correctly relay that,
Yes.
Eric? Okay. So we had a couple of citizens provide comments in regards to the evaluation of the maps. FEMA did receive those comments and reflected those comments in their evaluation of the maps that will be coming forward to you. If there is any additional response the board would want to provide to those commenters, we can do so at this time and provide that. Otherwise, FEMA will continue on in their process. They have made modifications to the map, and they will bring that back to the board for that final review process.
Do you have a,
I'm a little confused about what our role, I thought our role is,
Eric, do you
at
want
the
to?
end of the day, we get to acknowledge the map that they've given us, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So in terms of what we can do now, so we've seen the comments, we've seen their response. What are you suggesting? What can you do at
We
this
have
point?
statutorily, we have a 30-day window if we want to offer anything additional.
Comments to whom? To FEMA or to the
to FEMA?
To FEMA.
appellants?
To FEMA.
Okay.
Yes.
And FEMA was fairly clear
Yeah, they said we're not gonna do anything.
that they are going to use the information they had in 2024.
Correct.
Or that they looked at the comments that were previously provided. They made some adjustments. They recognized that in some cases that there were no adjustments needed, or that the level of evaluation didn't rise to the level of fine tuning it that much more because of the rural nature of the area or whatever. So they looked at it, they evaluated it, they made their decision to not make changes, and they are the purveyors of the map, and we don't have the expertise in-house or otherwise to make comments on whether the maps are accurate or not, or valid, or if they're accurate or not.
So at this, what's the, after the 30 days are up, they will, that will be their final version, and those will come back to us as a commission? Or they
Yes.
will just exist?
Well, ultimately, what the next steps is that FEMA will provide us a letter of final determination that say that the maps are final. And with that letter, then the county will have 6 months with which to go through our own process to adopt the maps into our comprehensive plan and zoning maps.
And will that come back to us
Yes.
once it's done?
Yes,
But our choice is either adopt the maps or don't have flood insurance for anyone in the county.
that's exactly right.
Yes, that's called a choice.
Right, no, I understand that, and so what I took as their response to the questions that they were asked, or to the appeal, or whatever the name is for that process, was that a model is a model. It's not going to accurately reflect reality in all circumstances, but we believe that where it matters, we've gotten it. And the things that were brought to their attention, they don't care to go any farther with them, right? Is that?
And that there's a process that if the landowner disagrees, they can file for an after the fact amendment of the map.
Right, but the wholesale change in how they do their modeling or mapping is simply not going to happen.
But they still have an avenue to appeal it later, correct?
The landowner does.
Yes.
The issue that was highlighted to us in the letter that we received.
Did everybody see the letters?
Oh, I just assumed it went to the full commission, maybe not.
I'm not sure.
I believe it was just,
It was-
I just believe the two of you were CC'd on that. email.
Okay, because we were CC'd by
I'm
the.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, so I feel funny now talking about something that's not on the record,
Everybody-
but should be on the record. But at the bottom of it is that the citizens who asked us to look at this have a fundamental problem with the nature of the modeling. And we're not going to be able to make, this is a national program. The flaws that it has here, it has in really much worse elsewhere. It depends on topography, and our topography is not the worst case for triggering the weaknesses of these models. But I don't see that there's anything that we can do at this point. It sounds like it's if they have a specific thing that they as a landowner want to complain about, they can do that, but that's not what the complaint is. Correct.
Is that the message to the public? Is here
If
the
you
process?
don't agree with what the map does to your property, you should appeal it, and here's the process to do that. But in terms of our ability to convince FEMA that its approach to the problem is wrong, I don't think we
did our
have
part.
any ability to do that at this point.
And just to clarify,
I mean, we had a good discussion with them. We
Yeah.
talked about it was what the 1D versus 2D modeling, is that the right terminology? Talked to them about that and how they make decisions and kind of what their goal is. And what he explained is that nationally, they're trying to cover, you know, a big part of the country in a small amount of time. And so the model is going to be somewhat superficial.
and I think it's worth pointing out that all potentially affected property owners were notified of the map changes. They were notified that there was an appeal process. There was an open house that was scheduled that invited people to attend. And so if you're a landowner, you did receive notice of this and were given the opportunity to look into it further to see how it might affect your property specifically.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not thrilled with the way that it all happened, but I don't see that there's any meaningful thing to do now.
Okay, thank you.
We will make a note on our website in regards to the FEMA process and provide the information.
I thought you were gonna make a note that I wasn't thrilled.
Also in my report, calendar year end, each of the departments provided their top 3 accomplishments. And so again, just refer you to all of the good things going on across the county. And then finally, legislative updates. So in your packet, you have the calendar for the short session that is coming up. The Association of Oregon Counties has their legislative reception and legislative days the evening of February 9th. And February 10th. And so did send out messages today for anyone who may want to attend those. And just a reminder that in regards to legislative items, so we, the Pacific Source contract, they did issue a termination and then amendment to re-up. For our health department, it is also an issue for Mid-Columbia Center for Living. And so there is a meeting this Friday that commissioners from Mid-Columbia Center for Living are participating in Salem with Association of Oregon Counties to talk about that contract specifically and the requirements for the services that are to be provided in our area. Again, we'll be working on how we engage in the transportation funding issue. Next Friday, the 30th, we have our final presentation on the courthouse funding to keep that process going forward. And we have letters out in regards to the ask for the fixes for the courthouse to our representatives. We're going to continue to engage on the Department of Corrections funding. So again, trying to seek those corrections for parole and probation, full cost of service. And again, in regards to the CAFA funding, I think the ask this year is to do an analysis in regards to the benefit of increased support for assessment and taxation and what that would mean to the state. So we'll continue to engage. AOC has been great. We're very engaged across all of our departments and with you. And so just look forward to doing that work during this short session. So any questions?
I just got a note from someone who said that the meeting was disconnected online. Are you seeing that?
Looks like we're still rolling.
So, and do you see people actually signed into it?
Yeah.
Okay, it must just be them.
And that is it for my quarterly reports.
Thank you.
Or administrator's report.
We now have the reports that from all of the other departments, and you all have them in your agenda. And if you have any questions, I see some of the people, some of those administrators are here. If anybody has questions about those. And I know
I did.
Babbitt has
Yeah,
a question
actually,
about
I
the
think
budget
Ed did
timing.
too.
Yeah.
Let him go first.
And,
Yeah.
and Sherry's left, but if we ask these questions now
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
meeting, we can be answered next.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're gonna go, okay.
Mhm.
So I just, my question, reading through, well, thank everyone for your reports. Reading through the financial analysis narrative, some things stuck out, and I was just looking for clarity.
Mhm.
Back in the budget process, we had very in-depth discussions about the budget that we were passing, our concerns that we would be dipping into reserves, but I think the philosophy as I understood it was, it would probably be a little premature to make any major budget changes, given the fact that we're kind of coming out of the COVID monies and not really understanding. But there was a lot of concern that we were passing a budget that was potentially going to spend down reserves.
Mhm.
The narrative kind of tells us a little bit different story, and I guess I'm just looking for some understanding. Second paragraph says that we remain in strong overall financial position. Revenues collected year to date exceed total expenditures, resulting in a positive net operating result. But there's also timing issues, I understand, with revenue versus, the expenditures should be more predictable versus revenues that are not. And we're actually slightly ahead of the midway point for expenditures. I guess what that really gets to is if we are at an expected compared to our budget, which we voiced concern over passing for sustainability purposes, the narrative seems to be positive that we're still in a really good position, but it's counter to what our concerns were during the budget process. And it seems to me that means we're heading in the wrong direction.
Well, and I would just say the narrative is positive as a result of where we currently sit. And we heard that through our audit process because we're sitting on pretty healthy reserves. I think we're all very aware of the sustainability issue. And we're all very aware that that's the answer that we need to get to, which is why we're going through the Baker-Tilly analysis as well. And I think as a board, you were identifying that you were wanting to monitor open positions to make sure that we maintain that fluidity. We are still continuing that trend with a number of open positions. So I think Sherry prepared the budget analysis narrative reflecting that current basis coming off of the audit. But I don't think there has been any loss of understanding of where we need to head in the budget process.
So would it be fair to say that we make even though we may be dipping into reserves for this year and that we're on track for the budget that we approved, trajectory, if continued, would lead us to a point where we do not have adequate
Correct.
reserves?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make that on the record and be clear that that was the case.
It is absolutely the case, with the understanding that we need to get to a balanced budget. We have had I would call it the luxury of having an unbalanced budget because we're coming out of the COVID revenues. And we know that structurally we need to do something different. And that is why we're going through this analysis. Understand how we can be structured moving forward. And I really, we had a really great discussion with Baker Tilly on Friday. And so for the stakeholder interviews that are coming up in a couple of weeks, I am really hoping that your involvement in that and understanding the model that they're putting together, as well as the understanding of the comparator counties and information that they're bringing in terms of the ways that we can do business, if that will start to build a level of comfort and understanding of some of the work that's being done to identify the choices that we're going to have to make when we get farther along in the spring.
I can guarantee the participation with Baker Tilly. I can't guarantee the understanding of their model.
Okay. Okay.
But I would hope to get there.
I think we will have the skill on this board to challenge the model. And so I think that's the thing that I was really excited about in seeing it and how it works. I think it will give us the tools that we're looking for.
Well, thanks for the clarity. I just think it's important that there's some context in regards to that. So if the budget committee has to make some hard decisions, that it doesn't seem counter to what the report, media report, is implying.
Yep. Well, and I think the other part of that is the element that I continue to identify is that it is an operational budget, and we are identifying capital needs that are not currently being funded, and that also is a factor that we're not evaluating, and we need to. And so that's not reflected also in what was communicated there.
Great.
Yep.
More questions, Commissioner Babbitt?
Yeah. Just trying to remember exactly how it was phrased during the budget cycle, and just make sure that we're communicating the previous 2 years of budget. We passed not our current budget, but the previous 2 years previous to that. We passed budgets that had significant deficits to them, but we didn't believe those deficits would at the end of the year through operations turn out to be real deficits. And that had to do with all the messiness of the COVID funding and all the various grant sources that were coming in and how those were processed. And it turned out that was correct, that we were, we had 1 year, I mean, not last year, but the year before, where the budget would have predicted a $2+ million reduction in reserves, and instead we had a $1 million increase in reserves. And these are just, I'm maybe wrong on these numbers, but this is kind of how I remember it. And so based on that experience with the last 2 years, we felt that it would be overreactive of us to force layoffs in the budget when we know how hard folks work to train people into those positions, and that if we don't know that it's a real lack of funds, then to sort of be swatting at this phantom to say, oh, well, we're gonna lay people off so that so the numbers look good.
The analogy was a gas pedal. The analogy used was a gas pedal.
Right, and how did they use it? They said let up on the gas pedal.
Let up on the gas.
Instead of hitting the brakes.
Instead of, yes.
That's right, yeah, let up on the gas.
Let
pedal
up on the gas
instead of
pedal
hitting the
instead of
brakes.
hitting the brake.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had that discussion. I thought that was a really good discussion. And I still think that that was the right thing to do, but it was my hope and expectation. And I'm trying to remember exactly how we worded it, because I think it wasn't unanimous, but it was my hope and expectation that through the fiscal year, that management would be able to monitor open positions and consider expenses in such a way that the goal was at the end of the year to have either no spending of actual reserves, or have that spending of reserves be minimal, so we could get to the point of having these reorganization discussion or these efficiencies discussions in a climate where we don't have to say the first thing we have to do is cut 20% out of the budget. And I don't know where we are on that. I had requested that, my proposal had been that we should do a hiring freeze, and that all replacements should come through the Board of Commissioners, and that each time we should have a review of where the numbers were and how close we are. And I was kind of talked out of that, and for very solid reasons. So that's not what we said. I don't remember exactly how we worded it, but now that we passed the midpoint in the year, I seem to remember some discussion about when we reach the midpoint, we should have a better appreciation of where we really are. And based on that, we should decide whether we have to take more serious actions. So I'm wondering how we have that discussion about kind of, okay, so where are we? And I know that Sherry hasn't had a chance to really digest the major stuff in any complete manner, probably, having just finished the audit. But I would like to figure out how to have a discussion to figure out if there is any action we should be taking at this point. Because I think that's what we said.
I do think it would be helpful to understand, we talked about where we can reduce cost, and we had a discussion about where we can increase revenue, which I don't think we got to today, right? Because we heard that grants went down by $1 million, but that's not accurate. When we talk about, that was just $1 million in COVID grants.
You're talking about the comment that the auditor made about grants wasn't accurate to what you've heard.
Right, and the budget committee was talking about how, we're applying for grants, we're hiring a grants manager,
Right.
And before Sherry left, she mentioned we actually are bringing in more grant dollars, but we haven't heard from her yet. So maybe by next meeting we can get a better picture of, well, where are we bringing in more revenue? So we do understand really where we're cutting costs and bringing in revenue, and where are we really?
I really want to know, what is Sherry's best guess as to what the ending fund balance
Where
is
we're
going to
gonna
be on June 30th. And I know that obviously there's a lot of question marks there, but I'd like to understand what her thinking is. I know that the sheriff has some openings now and is expecting to have some more openings, and that will have some real effect there. And again, I don't want to take actions that we don't have to take.
Yes.
Well, one of the things we were really concerned about was whether the federal grants were going to dry up, and therefore state grants would dry up. And if, again, I'm getting mixed messages because we know that some of that's happening, and yet we hear that our grants are up. So I think until we get real information about what's happening on the revenue side next month, we'll put that on the agenda next month. Discussion.
Well, and certainly there was, and just on the revenue side, there was good news in terms of the reports that we had from our records and assessments department in terms of their evaluation of tax
tax assessments, because we had some disqualifications, and so that was an impact for this year. That was positive. And then we were also entering into the year unsure about, yes, those federal sources, secure rural schools in those areas, which those are working themselves out. I think an area that we're paying special attention to right now is our health department because of what's happening on the federal level. And even the specific source contract has a 30% impact on reimbursements for Medicaid for services provided in the health department. And so with the actions that we took last year with the health department, they're now evaluating what they can do with the prevention department. We've got an opening there. You know, how can we look at what they're doing and utilizing the resources, the recurring grants that are occurring in the prevention department to help prop that up. Yeah.
I'm talking about millions of dollars,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
And so I want to look at the big things.
Yep.
And there's another piece that I think that you explained to me last week that I want to make sure that we talk about, which is that the original presumption was that the Baker Tilly analysis would be completed in time for consideration in this year's budget. And it sounds like their analysis will not be available until after the budget cycle.
I actually was more encouraged after our meeting on Friday. And if you look at the schedule that is in in my report, those financial analyses, the current status is the first thing to be done. So I think it is going to inform us through the budget process. Obviously, it's not going to be completely done in terms of what the options are. That comes after the end of the fiscal year. But I think it's our job to make sure that we're entering into the budget process with the understanding of how we front load this, if that makes sense. Coming out of the end of the fiscal year in a sustainable manner and looking at our budgets, knowing that we don't have sustainable options moving forward, if that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, the level of reserves we have is we're in a better position than we were a couple of years ago when I went through a similar discussion. So, we will have to make an evaluation of whether we need a major, minor, or no course correction.
Yep.
And so I want to have that discussion. I really don't know what the answer is.
Okay.
I'm not, just putting that out as a.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know.
Without current data, we're gonna have a very difficult time of doing that.
Right, a lot of it's, so I pretty well understand what data we have today. I don't know what's gonna happen in the next 6 months.
Right.
I know that a lot of that's going to depend on how long it takes the sheriff to fill the positions that he has, and sort of when do people leave and when do those positions get filled, and that's going to probably be the largest single dollar sway in all of that. So
well, and
we need to have Sherry sort of give us some way to think about that and help us understand the size of those numbers and what that could actually look like.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Are there any other questions about this? And are there any questions at all from about the quarterly reports? Any other? Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody from those departments who came tonight, in case we did have questions, but you wrote very clear and succinct reports.
I guess I do have a question. I think I know the answer, but this was the first engagement report done for staff in how many years or ever?
I haven't talked to anybody who knows of running an engagement report in the past. And we are preparing to run our next one. So it's been drafted and we are hoping to roll it out in the next couple of weeks, but want to get some second eyes on it to make sure that it's comprehensive and giving us the data that we need.
So you expect the cadence to be every
quarter.
I had it my way.
Quarter.
We're gonna do it every quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will be an amazing tool. You know, the biggest cost factor in running an organization is how we manage and the engagement of our employees, and that directly relates to our outputs. So that has been a really good tool.
If there are data points that you all are craving, like I'm open to talking about those. It's a fine balance of asking questions that giving you the data that's helpful and useful, but also keeping the anonymity so people feel comfortable sharing. So if there are data points that you're just craving to have, like I'd love to talk about those. Yeah, for this next one, we're gonna also include some wellness survey questions. We hope to apply for a $10,000 wellness grant. And so we'll include things like, you know, what areas of your life, whether it be financial wellness, whether it be stress, sleep, nutrition, is needing the most attention, and really get at some ideas that people think would be valuable to them to try and come up with wellness initiatives funded by these grant dollars that we hope to earn to care for our people.
Is that why there's no candy today?
We missed the handful of candy.
I do have a question while you're there, actually, as I was reading through your report. In terms of turnover for the first quarter, almost 7%. And I don't know if that's been tracked, but yeah, you know, if that's a typical number, that's a pretty high number for a year.
Because I am fairly new, I don't know what it's been in the past, but Taya actually showed me today, she's put together a dashboard so that moving forward, we can have some trends to show you, so that we can learn from why people are leaving and how we can retain them. But I'm not sure what it's been in the past. It feels quite high.
And it's not a data source I've had since I've been here. We've really been trying to put our hands on data related to those kinds of things, because again, that's a tracking mechanism for where we are also.
It feels high, and I hope that we could get to a more stable number, but if we do see a trend long term, that also helps us in terms of budgeting, right? It's
Yeah.
if we always budget for, you know, full staffing, but yet we can never achieve it, that's a consideration as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also, I can't remember if it mentioned in here, the cybersecurity audit. Did you
Yes.
mention that in here?
I was hoping that you might include that on your report, that you met with the committee, and that we're expecting that committee to reconvene in April. Because our meeting that we had in December, you provided the history and laid out some of the expectations there that is allowing our staff then
And
to
Ed
go
couldn't
back.
make that one.
Right.
So, what's that?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so we need to actually conduct the audit, and
Yeah.
so we scheduled a meeting for April, and
Yes.
having a new department head in place, it makes sense for him to have time to first understand what is expected of him before he launches into the process.
Yeah,
So we got that far.
we did. Yes.
I'm gonna consider that item covered.
Okay.
I feel like if I keep pausing and then asking for more questions, I'll just keep bubbling up to the surface. But we should probably move.
If you want to keep us moving along, don't give us the option to ask questions.
I like your questions.
Okay.
All right, let's start with commissioner reports, and let's see what Chad's had to eat this month.
I have nothing new to report on this month.
All right.
I didn't get any food.
No pig roasts or
Nothing that I can
pancakes or.
report on.
You didn't go to any meetings with food, okay. Commissioner Weathers?
Not a lot, you know, we had a special session last week or the week.
The Norcor.
The Norcor, so I don't really have anything new to report. We met the following week. There are upcoming presentations for the other three counties. I'm hoping to attend both of those, actually. Gillum and Sherman, we're going to have a joint session, so I'm hoping to listen in on both of those. Nothing with Mount Hood Economic Alliance, and then on Thursday, hopefully, everybody's super busy, but been asked to talk Norcor and Norcor budget on radio with Mark Bailey. So
Good.
So you're gonna fix that?
fix what? Be specific.
Problems.
Problems, yes. Or I'm better at creating, but I'm gonna work on solving, yes.
Well, again, thank you for the time it takes to do Norcor. It's quite clear that that's an awful lot of hours every month, and we appreciate it.
Well, the whole team has spent a lot of hours, so Sheriff English and I have gotten to know each other quite a lot better over the last number of months, so.
Very good. Commissioner Babbitts.
Let's see, so first on the bridge, you got a good report last month, I think, or a month before. You're probably pretty much up to date. We've been waiting for information on two large grants, one which we were awarded a while ago, but we haven't gotten the money actually released, and a second one which we don't know when or if awards will be made. That's actually two years worth of that grant. So we don't have any new information on that. We've talked to our lobbyists, and pretty much not much has happened in DC in terms of moving any of that stuff forward. You know, holiday time, you wouldn't expect a lot of movement there anyway, but we're really in terms of full funding for construction of the bridge. We don't have any further information on that, but we are moving forward in the design cycle. And specifically, you heard that the record of decision was received, which allows us to apply to the Coast Guard for a permit to do the drilling for the geotechnical, where each pier is going to be, I always get these terms confused, where each pier is going to be, there'll be a test bore drilled. And so it hasn't yet been reported that we have received the permit for that, but the port reported they were going to have closures of the road as drilling was happening. So I'm not sure if that means that the drilling is happening on land or in the water. But there are some land holes that have to be drilled also, like right near the toll booth and right near SR 14. Since the roadway is going to go through there. So some drilling is starting. I'm not sure if it's happening in the water or not, because I don't know if we've gotten the permit yet. That drilling has to happen during in-water work period. And so there's a bunch of unknowns about that.
And the record of decision is the EIS?
That's the completion of the environmental process. So the full environmental impact statement, the EIS, has been the biological opinion has been received, all the concurrences from the various agencies have been received, and there was a signing of that, which means that it gets, the way I understand this, and this is the only time I've ever done this, but that means that it's recorded in the Congressional Register that this is a real project. And so that recording has happened, which now allows various other things to happen, such as getting a permit to drill or to identify. This is actually a pretty critical thing. So we need to know that where every pier is going to happen, that the designs that are being drawn for it are precisely correct, that they're going to hit rock at the right place. And so they're designing the depth and the width and the dimensions of everything, and each one is a little bit different. And so they have all of these things that they're working on final design of now, and they have to actually do the drilling to determine that the rock is where we think it is. We have several holes that we drilled 2 years ago now, I think, which identified that the rock was a lot deeper than we thought, and that's where a lot of the cost increase from the bridge happened. But we now have to verify that there's nothing funny, no anomalies, but we've chosen to put a pier in this spot, and it turns out that there's a big deep hole there, and the rock is 100 feet deeper, 200 feet deeper. No reason to expect any of that, but this is when we find that out. And so between now and early spring, you'll see vessels out in the water drilling. I think it's talking about doing, because of the limited time, doing from both ends. So there'll be two different vessels perhaps, but we'll see that soon. So that's it for the bridge. A lot of waiting right now, really. And then McCack, it's a busy season, but in terms of not a lot of decision making happening. We're just delivering services. So nothing really to report on. Nothing important to report on. We already gave the report on the cybersecurity and I'm just thinking whether any, no, I will pass on everything else.
All right.
Well, I will say that with McCack, we had the meeting about the shelter, permanent location of the shelter. So at the February meeting, I've been working with Eric and getting a legal opinion on our construction excise tax dollars. And so bringing some review for you in terms of maintaining the use of those dollars, because we also are expecting some requests from community organizations. So there are some choices to be made there in terms of how we support items like a permanent shelter were they to find a location. So that's coming in February.
Thank you. Commissioner Reddy?
I'll have my meeting with Mid-Columbia Housing Authority next week, but if you drive up Grand Road, you'll see Mariposa Village. You know, Alice had reported on that happening fairly quickly, and I see that every day since they'll be my neighbors, which is great. Met with Columbia Gorge Health Council, who's still also negotiating with Pacific Source. Just to add to the legislative report that Allison provided with Center for Living, we had multiple meetings, an emergency meeting, because when we came back to Pacific Source negotiating the contract, since they wanted to cut the rates for the services provided by the county, Pacific Source came back and terminated the contract, which ends in March. But then the vice president of Pacific Source called Al Barton, the executive director, directly and said, hey, I understand that there's these 3 services that were mandated to provide. And the 3 services are peer services, assertive community treatment, which is adults with mental illnesses, and then the wraparound programs. And the VP asked Al to come back to him and let him know how much it would cost to run these 3 programs that are mandated by OHA that we need to provide as a mental health authority. And then Pacific Source, so I guess we're still in negotiations. We'll come back and talk to Al. So that meeting happened last Monday on the 12th. I haven't seen any updates, any emails from Al, but it looks like they're still willing to work with us, but there would still be, even if they provide funds for those 3 services, an $800,000 shortfall with that budget. So
do you know the results of the AOC negotiations, the statewide negotiations?
That's the meeting on the 23rd.
There's a meeting on the 23rd that's specific to this. Are you speaking about the negotiations in regards to signing the consolidated financial agreements for behavioral health services?
Yes.
I think they were able to work out the ability to get what they needed through those contracts and sign them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the 23rd, well, Allison, are you?
I'm going to sit in on that meeting. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Byrd and Brady. I'm not sure if I'll make it, but I'll let you know. Are going to be meeting with Pacific Source, AOC, and just trying to figure out how we can move forward, providing the services and our options. Those are the highlights for the last one.
Commissioner Brady did a really good job of explaining that on the radio, because the day we were on the radio, I listened to him on the way home, and yeah, he did a great presentation about it.
It's really good to have teachers in that role, because he knows how to.
And that's what it was like. I was like, okay,
actually understand. Yeah,
exactly.
he's great at that.
Anything else?
No.
Anything else bubbling up to them? So I didn't go to an awful lot of, I did go to an awful lot of meetings, but I think all of us did. It was all the same meetings that mostly the rest of you too. But since all of the issues that are around ICE that we spoke of at the end of our work session agenda, people have been asking sort of for us to say something. And I've put a lot of thought into saying something that is not going to raise the temperature around ICE, but be clear about what I've heard here at our commission. I don't speak for the commission because we have not come up with a decision, except that we are not feeling the need to be involved in a proclamation. So I'm not representing the other commissioners. I'm just going to try and sort of summarize where we are, because we've had various informal discussions. Because, for instance, we had a visitor at our last meeting, and what she brought up ended up being the headline in the newspaper, and the rest of the agenda was in the last couple of. So given all that, I'm going to be very careful what I say, because I want to be really clear and responsive and respectful of all of the various people involved. So I'd like to begin by addressing the presence of ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Hood River County. Immigrants are part of the fabric of our community. They live and work and send their children to school alongside all the other residents of the county. They are an important part of our social, economic, cultural, and educational world. Currently, the presence of ICE is unsettling everybody's lives. The past process of ICE was to arrest residents for suspected federal crimes if their immigration status was questionable. ICE were required to have proper documentation, judicial warrants, and were held accountable for respecting property rights. Those constitutionally mandated protections for human beings residing in this county are being ignored, and ICE has received enough funding to vastly increase their activity. In other cities, demonstrators have been shot and killed. I should add that there are times when the rules have been followed, to be fair. Here in our county, we expect federal agents to follow federal law, to arrest those that have valid reasons to arrest, and to respect private property and human rights. Our local law enforcement officials are prohibited by the Oregon sanctuary law from assisting ICE with enforcing federal immigration laws. They are prohibited by federal law from interfering with ICE. They are carrying out their duties, following Oregon law, keeping Hood River County's residents and visitors protected from property crimes, person crimes, and other serious offenses. I empathize with the demonstrators who believe that voicing their outrage will call attention to the unlawful treatment by ICE, but I must also think of the folks in our county who are at risk of being profiled by ICE, whether they are citizens, documented or undocumented workers, parents of children attending our local schools, or young adults who were brought here as infants and have never lived in another country. Some of them have asked that we avoid drawing national attention to our county. Your county commission will continue to do all we can to keep Hood River residents safe and healthy. We are working on ways to increase the supply of affordable housing. We are doing all we can with limited funds to keep our roads, buildings, and other infrastructure in good working order. We are finding ways to stretch health department resources. Our DA's office is continuing their important work, making sure that those who commit crimes are dealt with fairly according to our laws to keep our community safe. Our county and city administrators, Allison Williams and Abigail Elder, will be connecting in regard to listening sessions and trainings. If you are looking for ways to protect our residents from unfair targeting by ICE, there are several ways to inform yourself or get involved. The Latina Network and Nextdoor are a good place to start. Thank you for caring as much as I know you do as residents of Hood River County. So that's my report for this month. We'll move on. We are now down to the consent agenda. And I would entertain pulling out the intergovernmental agreement with the Secretary of State for Digital Ballot Solutions, so that we can understand that a little better before voting. But we could just why we can discuss that. Do I need a motion to discuss that, to pull it out,
What I was gonna suggest is we can leave it in and simply
ask questions?
have, we have discussion about the consent agenda. We usually don't, but we can,
Okay,
we can talk about it.
Let's do that. So we'll have
The
a,
point is, you had a citizen request more information.
yeah, and it made me think, this is a time when people are very interested in our electoral
Yep.
Processes and it is a little bit confusing. So at this time, I would like to ask Brian Beebe to come and explain the in more detail.
Could we get a
What we're
motion
talking
to
about.
put it on the floor first before we?
Well, that's what I was trying to do. I
Information.
thought you said we didn't need to. Yes, yeah.
No, I'm saying we don't have to remove it from the consent agenda. I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
and now we'll.
Now for
Discussion.
discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you for doing. Okay. Now we're officially ready to hear.
Good evening, Chair Euwer, County Commissioners. For the record, my name is Brian Beebe. I'm the Director of Assessments, Records, and Elections for Hood River County. This is a consent. The item on the consent agenda is a request to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Secretary of State for a hardware and software solution paid for with grant funds to allow us more quickly and efficiently and accurately duplicate ballots when necessary. Election officials are sometimes required to duplicate a ballot because the ballot is not machine readable. Ballots that are not machine readable for two reasons, primarily because they're either from military and overseas voters that are submitted electronically or because they are damaged. So our current process is that military and overseas voters, and only military and overseas voters, are allowed to vote electronically. Because often the postal system isn't quick enough to get their ballots back to us in time to be counted to vote.
And this is state law.
This is a state law, correct? And so currently they mark their ballots. They can either get their ballot in the mail and mark it and send that back to us electronically, or they have an online marking tool. It's called enhanced voting that they've been using for several years now. Where they can mark their ballot and submit that back to us electronically. They submit their ballot, and we call it a ballot packet, either through fax or email. The ballot packet contains their voted ballot, a signed voter's statement, the one that everybody signs on the back of their return envelope, and then a signed secrecy waiver, so they give up their right to a secret ballot. Because we see it and they send it back to us through the email. This requires us to transfer the ballot information on those emailed ballots to a ballot that's actually machine readable that we can run through our election tabulators. And so currently that process is a manual process. We look at the email and transfer it to the ballot, and then we keep the originals in a file. Then we have to verify that the duplicate ballot matches the ballot that was submitted, and then we have to store the original ballot. So what's new about this process is that these ballots that we're going to receive are going to have a barcode on them and then we can just scan the barcode, and it'll automatically print out a ballot that matches the selections made by the voter. So it saves us the step of having to hand duplicate the ballot. Everything else about that process will remain the same. We'll still review that the ballot matches and those kinds of things. But what it'll do is it'll speed up the process and us having to duplicate those ballots.
You just said in those kinds of things. Could you just fill in a little bit, give us a little clearer color? So the barcode is going to result in printing out a ballot. What do you then do to make sure that that ballot accurately reflects the intent of the voter and that the voter is authorized to vote?
Visually compare it to the ballot that was submitted line by line.
And the verification that this person is allowed to vote?
Verification that a person is allowed to vote goes through the voter registration process. So that's when we determine somebody's allowed to vote. And we're not doing that when they're submitting their ballot, other than checking that the signature on the voter's record matches the ballot signature that they're submitting on their ballot. So that's how we determine that the person that's submitting the ballot is the same.
How do they
person.
sign an electronic ballot?
So they're required to actually sign that ballot, and then they send an image of that signed voter statement to us.
Could I ask, how many ballots do you process during a normal general election, and how many of those are we talking about as being overseas or military?
I don't have those exact numbers on you. My recollection in a general election is we're generally running at about an 80% turnout. We currently have 17,000 voters to give you an idea. And then the number of UACAVA, which stands for the Uniform and Overseas Citizen Absentee Voter Act. The number of those voters, we have less than 200 in our county.
So 200 out of maybe 15,000 ballots cast.
Yeah. And then the other thing the system's going to allow us to do is duplicate ballots. So sometimes ballots will come into our office that have, they'll be torn, or they'll have something on them that'll prevent them from being scanned. And so we have to then duplicate ballots in those situations to get them to run through the ballot scanners. And so that process is very similar. We have to go get the same ballot. There's several different ballot styles depending on where you live, determines on what contests are on your ballot. So we have to go get the same exact ballot, and then two people sit down and they review the ballot and they mark it the same. And so what this system is going to allow us to do is essentially be able to mark it on a screen versus hand marking it. And then when we print, we'll be able to print a label. So normally we stamp the two ballots, and then we have to, make sure we match the numbers and everything. This system will allow us to print a label, put it on the original ballot, and do the marking on the screen. So
the two people who review the ballot, the replacement ballot, tell us the nature of those people.
Yeah, so anytime that a ballot is out of an envelope or in the process of being moved for an envelope, we work in teams of two people that handle the ballots, and they're teams of two people from two different political parties, so that there's checks and balances there. So,
is there a cost to this?
The system's grant funded, so it's being paid for by this grant. It's a federal grant that the state applied for the first 5 years of this program. So there's no cost to the county currently.
And then you'll have this machine that you won't have to buy, because
if we decide to keep using the program, there will be some ongoing costs after the 5 years, some support costs, and then potential equipment replacement costs. But it uses generally off-the-shelf type of equipment. So
this isn't a requirement of the Secretary of State's office that all elections offices have to do this?
It is not a requirement that all election offices have to do it. They didn't want to force counties to utilize it, but several counties chose to participate. And
do you have any guesses to what percentage? If there are 6 counties, are the big counties using it, or how?
The larger the county, the more for sure that they're going to be using it, because it's going to save them significant amount of time. The smaller, we have some pretty small counties in Oregon, and so the smaller counties have opted against using it.
So there are counties that have decided against it.
There are some.
And are there any that have decided against it because of reasons of concerns about the security or accuracy of it?
That is not anything that I've heard of reasons cited for them choosing not to use it. So,
thanks.
This doesn't change anything with the process on the voter side. They're still voting, marking their ballot using the same software that they've used previously. So it's just changed how quickly we can process it on the back end.
just after Commissioner Weathers' dog chews up his ballot and spits it out, you have a way to deal with it?
Yes.
You wouldn't
Good.
spit it out.
Oh, okay. He,
You know, and as
so
always,
there's it.
as always, we take great pride in, you know, educating voters and allowing observers to come in and observe our process and educate them about our processes. And we invite anybody that would like to come observe our processes to, you know, during an election, please come see how Hood River County processes your ballot. So be happy to show them.
And this is a good example where, you know, someone saw that we had on the agenda that we were discussing this and they said, hey, this sounds like something that might be important. And so they get to hear about it. So hopefully they're listening.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, well, is there any more discussion about the consent agenda?
I had, I'm sorry, there was the letter. Just to pull
Which
this up
letter?
now, the Bellman property letter.
They took out what you wanted taken.
There was still a word in there. That's what I'm sorry, I tried to pull it up and now
Here,
I
I
think my
got it.
computer caught what your computer had.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sitting too close.
Yeah. So just, it says, ODOT has secured federal funding to advance the next phase of the trail in this area. As the project moves forward, we would request the public ownership of the Bauman property be considered as part of ODOT's planning and implementation for this segment. The transferring that to telling ODOT what to do in their planning and implementation, I thought that's what we were taking out, and that kind of leaves a little bit of that in there.
Oh, it took
Yes,
out
I mean-
the part where they were being told that it would save them money.
Right.
And it
But we still
also,
say that they're going to use this in their planning, and the issue is, we believe that this is a piece of property that would be, that should be in state ownership, should be in public ownership, right? I don't know, actually state and federal.
so if we have an issue here in the consent agenda and you would like a sentence removed, we take it out of the consent agenda. Do we okay everything else in the consent agenda and
Or
then
can we
come back to
amend it?
this?
Can we just amend it?
Can we just amend it? Okay, all
So
right.
I would request, I would make a motion that we amend the letter to, and
Just say
the
that
words exactly.
as the project moves forward, we request that public ownership be considered,
We will-
period.
We believe that public ownership of the Bauman property will be beneficial to planning and implementation of the historic Lumber River Highway State Trail.
That's how you'd like it to say. So are we going to go,
I
we
think that's good.
request that the public ownership of the Bauman property be considered, period, and then your sentence?
No, I was extending the sentence.
Okay, property be considered
Beneficial.
Beneficial.
to the,
No, I'm sorry. Let me say it again. As the project moves forward, we believe that public ownership of the Bauman property will be beneficial to the planning and implementation of the historic Lumber River Highway State Trail.
very good. I agree. That sounds better.
I just don't like telling ODOT what to do.
Okay. All right, so that's on the record now and it'll come out that way.
I made a
If we
motion.
vote,
Right, so that hasn't been seconded yet.
I'll second the motion.
okay. So first, we had a motion to
We deal with the amendment, so we should vote on the amendment.
okay, so we go in backwards. Okay.
You have
all
to,
right.
you have to back out of it, so.
All right. So we'll vote on what we have just corrected in the Bauman letter. Is there any discussion? And it was moved and seconded. Commissioner Moretti,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts.
Yeah.
Commissioner Weathers,
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Then we'll keep going backwards.
Yep.
And is there any more discussion about the consent agenda itself? We have moved and seconded. No more? Commissioner Moretti,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers.
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you.
You haven't done a lot of amendments.
No, obviously,
I used to be very,
not my,
very used to doing amendments on amendments on amendments and city
we're
council.
usually doing embedded amendments,
Yeah.
okay?
Software.
Now I know about
amendment. Yeah.
Embedded amendments, all right. That does it for our consent agenda, and we are down to our work action items. So the first thing, the recommendation of item A is that we authorize the chair to sign the resolution establishing February 14th, 2026 to March 15th, 2026. Hood River County reads on Gold Hill, a personal history of wheat farming and family from Punjab to California by Jacqueline White.
So moved.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Munzer?
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers?
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Ready?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. And then we're on to the fiscal year auditor's opinion. The recommendation is to approve the corrective action plan in answer to the finding that resulted from the 2025 independent audit, authorizing the chair to sign the document. Is there any more discussion about that? Or do we have a motion?
I would move that we approve the corrective action plan in answer to the finding that resulted from the 2025 independent audit, authorizing the chair to sign that document.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Commissioner Moretti?
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers?
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. And now, we're on to our readings.
Yes.
So,
It's second reading, if you remember how. You're not.
find my script.
Oh, I think
Where did I set it? I've got one.
that was the first reading.
I think I've got all.
Here's the second.
Okay. The second reading, okay.
Again, it's all Lisa's fault. He insists we do it this way.
Blame Lisa for following the law and keeping us out of trouble. It is awkward, I admit. Okay, this is the approval of the second reading of the ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 39, Land Corner Preservation Fund. And I will now call for a staff report. Which does sound backwards every time we do it.
Yes.
But we're going with it. This is what we're doing. It's upside down land. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you for returning to give us the same report.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you just gonna say today?
What's that?
So what were you gonna say today?
Well, I'm gonna say, hopefully you remember the last one. So we were here before you, the last meeting or the one before, discussing the public land corner preservation fee. We went over the program, and the importance of restoring our corners and the recent legislative update that now allows us to increase the fee that we collect. So we have an ordinance before you to repeal and replace that ordinance, to remove the $10 cap that was on the ordinance before. Now we can set that fee to whatever the commission sees fit. And I proposed at the last meeting that we set that fee to $28. It was last set in 1988, and the $28 is essentially to bring us up to what it would be based on CPI since 1988 and the actual need that we have for the fund to continue to do the work. So now if the ordinance is approved, then the fee can be addressed and increased each time with our normal biannual fee ordinance, as I understand. And that's essentially it, except for the public hearing.
So something to note, I did add the clerk's fee with the updated $28 in your packet, so you should have that information. Yeah.
But the ordinance is what lets us set the fee.
Yeah.
The fee is then set as a matter of course through the fee resolution. But in this case, we're actually setting the fee also. I forget, I can't remember now. But for the first time only, we set the fee as part of it.
And it will be good 30 days after signature.
So people can rush and get their stuff in before that.
Yes.
Yeah, it says it hereby incorporates the updated public land corner fee into the 2026 fee schedule.
Right.
Do we have any more questions of staff? Do we have any deliberations? So
So now there's not public.
We do need to do a public
Oh.
hearing to open it up for public comment. I think we missed that.
it's not,
Yeah, I don't see it in the script.
it's not in the script. So we will open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment? We will close the public hearing.
Yes.
Now, are there any deliberations? Do I need to read the ordinance before we do this?
We read it by title only the first.
Okay, so I read it last time, so I don't need to. Okay, very good. And it's in the packet, if anyone wants to read it. And so we need a motion to adopt, deny, or remand the ordinance.
I move we adopt the ordinance.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Moretti,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 39, Land Corner Preservation Fund, is hereby adopted. Staff is directed to incorporate the new fee into the county fee schedule effective January 1st. The resolution listed with the agenda item will not be considered because it is not necessary for this action. So,
349.
pardon?
349 is the number. You said 39.
Or 349. Did I say 39?
Yeah, you said 39 a couple of times.
349. 349. Okay. All right, our corners are preserved.
Thank you.
We have the next item, so we'll just stay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the next item is the legalization of Post Canyon Drive and this is talking about
This is
annexing
my one.
the side
It's minus the road item.
where under public hearing.
This talks about West Side Rural Fire Protection.
I don't think I have one
It's numbered the right number, but it's.
for
the
the
wrong
Post
thing.
Canyon.
West Side is new business.
Yeah.
We have 9B.
Oh, so there's
Okay.
no script for the Post Canyon.
Okay.
It's just you're approving the order to set the, and which sets the public hearing. date.
So we're just approving the order directing the Board of Commissioners to set a public hearing on March 16th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or thereafter to determine whether the legalization of Post Canyon Drive is in the best public interest. Do we have a motion? To direct.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to point out, there's been some public discussion about this. I don't think people remember, this is something we started this process 3 years ago, maybe?
Before I got here.
Before that, okay. So this is just something that, when the county put in place the, process of issuing parking passes for people, accessing Post Canyon, they discovered that the right of way for Post Canyon Drive in this area was far off of
What the
where the
map
actual
said.
road is. So what the map says and where the road actually is don't agree at all. This happens a lot, as I'm sure Cori can tell us, and we had another example.
Well, we're
of that.
dealing with it at Evans Creek too.
Right, exactly. So, but in this case, this gets in the way of the fee program also. So the desire was to get this road, to get the legal road to be where the physical road is. And presumably that will then allow the county to start charging fees to park there.
And I bet you did you have a presentation on this one? Or are you here for the West Side Fire one? Me?
No, there's no presentation apart from the survey in your packet.
Okay,
Which shows the the location of the road as it's proposed to be legalized.
Okay,
Do you recall how far off it was? How many feet? It was
Well,
like way off in some.
Yeah,
areas, right?
it starts basically where it should be.
Right.
And as it heads southwest, it ends up going.
Just goes up the hill, right?
Nowhere, so,
Right.
yeah, but it's very difficult to correlate the old commission journal from, I think, 1910. It's not very specific about its location, and
Right.
that's why we are able to legalize it.
Did I tell you about the woman with the shotgun chasing the crew off in 1910?
No,
No.
no, is that why it's not where
It actually did happen. Yeah, I mean, at least the newspaper
you're the
reported
only
it.
one that remembers that.
Well, I gave a talk on this a couple of years ago, but
He was on the crew.
yeah, I don't remember exactly. No, there's a woman who lived on Post Canyon Road, and she, when the road crew came out, when they were building Post Canyon Road, the county crew came out to kind of figure out where the road was going to be, and she thought that the road would damage their. Do we have time for this?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. She thought that the road would damage her plantings in front of her house, the shrubberies and stuff like that she had in front of her house, and so she chased him off with a shotgun. And then the next issue of the newspaper reports that this woman says, "No, I did not chase them off with a shotgun. That's a scurrilous lie." And I am concerned about this happening, and it seemed like it had been promised that the county wouldn't do anything without being kind of careful about it. And then one day while she wasn't there, they came and they plowed the shrubs down and put the road through there. So
And now we're legalizing that.
and now,
Yeah.
now we're legalizing that, right?
Well, hopefully when they go to post notice, that won't happen again.
Yes, because we now have public notice that we have to do for these things, and we do it in a far more careful manner. But that might explain why they didn't get the survey very well, because they were being chased by a shotgun up the hill. And so they had the survey just wandered right, because I've seen the survey, it just seems like wander right up the cliff there.
Dry it would be without the coloration of the history. Thank you.
No,
I'm done.
Right. Did we vote?
I don't think so.
I don't think we voted yet. All right, see, you got me all distracted. Well, we need a motion to approve the order. Oh, we did the,
we
We have a
we
motion.
have a motion and a second. I just need a
That's
vote.
why I was deliberation. I was deliberating.
Yeah.
You delivered.
You described what I did as deliberating.
Too long.
I deliberated.
Commissioner Moretti.
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers.
Yes,
Commissioner Munzer.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, in spite of the long deliberation. Okay.
I
So,
could submit the
no.
newspaper article from the record if you'd like.
that was a great story. Appreciate it. All right, now we have to actually. This is it, item. Says 9B, but I think it's 9A. Okay.
Yeah.
So. This is the approval of the first reading of the ordinance approving annexation number 25-0150. A request to annex property into the west side rural fire protection district.
So moved. That's what it says.
I'll second.
Seconded. So now we need to have the ordinance presented to us. So go ahead and introduce yourself and.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Steve Miller, Planning Manager. I appreciate the way you worked there, Commissioner Babbitt. That was very quick. I thank you very much for that. It sounds like you've already moved and got this done. But I also appreciate that little history you gave us on Post Canyon. That was interesting. But as you discussed here, we're here tonight for the first reading of an ordinance by title only and to provide the board with an overview of the applicant's request. This request is being initiated by Mr. and Mr. Stanley, who have already petitioned and received an endorsement from the Westside Fire Protection District to fulfill their desire to have their 7.5 acre parcel annexed into the Westside Rural Fire Protection District. And I understand that the Westside Rural Fire Protection District has been servicing this property since about 1980. The property involved in this application is located at the westernmost point of Mitchell Point Drive, and that's approximately 3,075 feet southwest of the Mitchell Point Drive on-ramp to Interstate 84. The And the property is located approximately 490 feet west of the existing west side fire protection boundary. It's also my understanding, working on this application, that non-continuous annexations are allowed per the Oregon Department of Revenue. The reason for the hearing, this particular request is not a land use issue per se. However, it is being brought before you tonight pursuant to the Hood River County Planning Commission bylaws. And those bylaws require that the Planning Commission make recommendations to the board for all requests to create, annex, or consolidate special district boundaries. And in evaluating this application, staff has determined that the request is consistent with all applicable review criteria, including those from the Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 198, as well as the Planning Commission and bylaws. And so for those reasons, staff recommends that the board approve the first reading of the ordinance by title only and schedule it for a second reading and possible adoption at your February 17th, 2026 regular meeting. And I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Do we have any more discussion?
Just
the matter?
if I could make a quick statement, or if you want to wait for.
No, go ahead and make a long statement.
No, it can be fairly quick. I just want to get on the record that I don't see any conflict of interest, but I am the chair of the Westside Fire Board. I think you accurately stated desire of the Westside Board, how we've actually been servicing that property, and our we'd like to acknowledge it and move forward. So I just want to make sure that is on the record.
And it sounded like the process was started in like 2018 and just never completed.
Correct.
It's
Yep.
really nothing new. It doesn't
Yep.
appear.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that.
Yep.
Anything else?
We're going back 45 years, basically.
Excuse me?
It said we're going back 45 years. I mean, they've been servicing this property for 45 years,
Yeah.
just without acknowledging it being part of the district.
Yep.
All right, and we'll vote. Commissioner Moretti,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers.
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The
Thank
first
you.
reading, thank you
you.
very much. The first reading of the ordinance approving annexation number 25-0150, a request to annex property into the West Side Rural Fire Protection District is approved. The second reading will be held on February 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m. or thereafter for a second reading of the ordinance and adoption. And the next thing we have is to recommend the agreements on the Evans Creek Road Culvert Replacement Project, authorizing the chair to sign the documents. Has anybody?
You missed me.
Pardon? Oh, we missed you. Thank you, Ms. Wiessner.
So we have 3 agreements in front of you today. And I want to be clear that these are agreements between ODOT and the Public Works Department. There is a separate process being run for our Community Development Department for land use of the same project. Those are separate. So these agreements are, one agreement is the intergovernmental agreement. It will allow ODOT to pay us money for work that we do as part of the project. So we're currently reviewing plans, all of the work that we've done to bring it to the board. Those are things that we can be reimbursed for. And so that's what the first agreement is for. We've said it's up to $105,000. If we spend more time on it, then it would have to go through an amendment. At no point does Hood River County want to spend money on ODOT's project. So that's the first one. The second one is a maintenance agreement. So at the end of the project, when they're done with the culvert, but they still have to do some work as far as mitigation is concerned, we take on ownership of like snow plowing, and if something happens to the road, that's ours to maintain. If something happens to the plants, we're not going to be doing that. That's all ODOT. And so that was the agreement, the second agreement. And then a memo of understanding in other jurisdictions that I've worked. The final piece is if there's an agreement between the property owner and ODOT to have easement into their property to have a guardrail or have this culvert. ODOT hasn't been great about turning it over to the jurisdiction. This is not their road. And so the third one is a memo of understanding that at the end of the project that they will be turning over all permanent easements to Hood River County. All temporary agreements will cease at that time. And they'll just enough. So they have to do more work than what's needed full time. Does that make sense?
I think so. When you said it earlier, you said something, ODOT would own something here though? Do they own the culvert itself?
So they won't own
Or they own
anything.
nothing?
So
Okay.
at the end of the maintenance agreement, or at the end of the project, they will be responsible for all of the things of the project. So maintenance or maintaining the plants for the mitigation period, they'll be responsible for that, and we'll be responsible for the road. So that portion, and then at the end of the project, all of the temporary easements just kind of go away. And then we would be responsible for the permanent easement.
When you say that they're not great about turning things over, is that just because of the administrative, we didn't get around to it? What, there would be no incentive with there for them?
So they have lots of people. And so they have a project manager that's running this stage, and then they have a construction manager running the next stage, and they don't have somebody at the end of that phase to hand it over to the jurisdiction.
Well, so, and you could see that ahead, so. we
So
have
that's
the
why
effort agreement.
I didn't bring this to you until I had that third agreement put in place.
Well done.
So I've been holding on to this agreement with ODOT until I had that one in place.
And maybe you could also explain, just for everyone who might be interested in that's listening, why ODOT is working on a non-ODOT road.
Yes.
It's because they.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's because of the Indian Creek culvert that was put in by Dutch Bros and Bros.
Because
Towers.
that's an ODOT.
That is an ODOT road. They could not make it fish bearing. The work that they would have had to do in order to make that fish bearing stream is not something that they could do. And so as a requirement of putting that in, they said they had to do something else within the same area to make fish passage better. And so they are improving our culvert. Our culvert was having issues, and so they're doing the work on our behalf to improve it. And so we'll have and then Middle Fork Irrigation District is also getting some improvements as part of that project as well.
So it's in trade for.
Yes.
It's like mitigating
Yeah.
the. what
Because
they
you
could
can't do
mitigate.
this, you have to do that.
They couldn't take care of those fish, so they're taking care of the other fish, so. Yeah. Very good.
Lucky and unlucky fish.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Don't turn right.
Yeah.
Well, I move we approve the agreements for the culvert replacement project, authorizing Chair Euwer to sign the documents.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Commissioner Munzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Moretti?
Yeah.
Chair votes yes. Now I've lost
I just lost my.
it went back to sleep.
That is
My
nice.
battery's dead.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Other than forgetting my mouse again.
The first action we were hoping we would take from the supplemental agenda, which is the appointment of the vice chair, and then that informs your committee assignments also.
Right, supplement. But we already added this. Right, at the beginning?
What we're gonna do.
Signing the vice.
Yes. So it's 9C, this is. Oh, this is actually on here, okay. Oh, Okay, I'm sorry, I was confused. This is the committee assignments rather than the other thing. Okay. I guess I have not heard from anybody that they want their committees changed. And so is there any information about that?
So I think first was the, just the confirmation of the vice chair. So if you were rotating,
Whose turn is it?
it is position 1. Yes,
My turn.
so we would just need a confirmation of that.
We need a motion.
Yes.
Make a motion that Commissioner Moretti is vice chair for going
2026.
for 2026. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Commissioner Munzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers.
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Moretti.
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Yeah.
So now we'll backtrack to the committee assignments, correct?
We have to scramble chairs.
I'm all right, one.
That's what I get for having all.
Was that how you're?
There's a lot of
I didn't realize
moving
that.
parts. at this
Okay,
meeting.
so, so that would mean that the budget committee would go to, you've already. Okay, this is the one from last year. So,
We're all on budget committee.
we're on the budget committee.
Yep.
It's really just a question of whether there's anything we want to trade. But you still doing Korea
Yes.
and the
I am.
act?
And I don't, we haven't had the Saruta Sister City Committee, so today I sent out some emails. I'm gonna try and find someone that's involved with that and ask them if they would like representation from the county, because I think once upon a time they had it, but I haven't heard in the last few
I
years.
think Ron Rivers was pretty active in that. with-
Well, maybe, I know that Mike Oates' name was on here. I mean, Mike, I think, was somewhat involved in it, so I'll check with them. And is there anyone else that would like a change in their committee assignment?
I would not like a change, but I just want to point out and Arthur's favorite topic, but the Board of Property Tax Appeals is no longer known as BOPTA, it is PVAB, so
Right.
to make that change. Property Value Appeals Board, Arthur, in case you're wondering, yes.
It's not me, it's them.
No, I.
And I would mention that I met with Martin Campos today from our Regional Development Corporation, who's mentioned that for his bylaws, they're also a CAC, a Community Action Council for farm workers. And they also are supposed to have an elected official,
Oh.
county commissioner on their board. So I'm able and willing and happy to serve on that. So I talked to him about getting the paperwork over.
Okay.
We can join that board.
Maybe we get him to come one meeting just to tell us about it.
Yes,
'Cause I've talked to him privately about it, but not in depth.
yeah, I'm happy to.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Betty. That it? Do we need to, I don't think we need a motion. We can just, or do we need a motion to adopt it for this year? We'll just continue on.
If I think the
With one
motion
change,
would
we
be
need
to
adopt it.
adopt. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we need a motion to adopt the committee assignments with the
I move
change.
we adopt the committee assignments as amended.
I will second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Moretti,
Yes.
Commissioner Babbitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Weathers,
Yes.
Commissioner Munzer?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
You know, it just occurred to me after we've just approved that amendment that would there be food involved with the new assignment, because that would have been a consideration.
I'll let you know then.
All right. We're adjourned.
No.
Oh.
Pardon? Sorry. We're not adjourned.
We can only be.
What I meant to say was. We are now going to go into executive session. as per ORS 192-6602I, employee-related performance review 192-6602F, to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, 192-6602H, to consult with legal counsel concerning legal rights and duties with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be followed. And the commissioners, legal counsel, news media, and select staff only.
And resources?
She selects staff.
Okay, yes.
Great.
You can also say that we'll adjourn after this is done, and then I can respond to the board.
And we will adjourn at the end of our exec. We will come back. Oh, we will adjourn at the end of the meeting. At the end of.
Without taking action.
No,
That's-
Yeah, I
without
think we're
taking
gonna
action.
take the space first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hold, please.